Hello everyone. Hello. Good night. Hello. Let me. Where's the chat? Oh, I need to do that again. It's very annoying. It's not this one. Not this. It's not this. Hello, Leaf. Hello. Window. Nope. There we go. There we go. It's so annoying, dude. Having to do this. Okay. Yep. I think everything is okay now. Hope all of you are alright. Today we're going to continue playing Umineko. Let me open the game. I downloaded a friend of mine, an nephew of mine, helped me edit some stuff and make it. The game is very old. It was launched in 2001. It's older than me, so it's very janky. The models that I was using were quite. Where's Chad? Were quite not only ugly, the new ones, but also apparently there is a dub, but it's a Japanese dub. And not only that, but there is a mod. Basically, there is a mod that you can download, and it changes the finals of the game, adds new sprites. It's the sprites from the PS4 edition, I think, and they are much prettier. Like the original ones have soul, but they aren't that pleasing to look at. But even so, the PS4 ones, though they aren't full of soul, they are full of prettiness. They are modern, you know, but they try to keep the soul of the characters. They aren't. Not every woman is a beanball with huge freaking teeth on screen. So it's much more portable. It's much more delightful, I'd say. I don't know if I'm going to use chat like this for this one. Dang it! Like this one. I'll probably use the text one because the other one would cover the text. Also, this mod also makes the text look more like modern VN instead of the old ones where text was above the thing. I think it's more. We can appreciate the images and the set pieces better. Okay, so now we go to this scene. We don't dox ourselves. And we show Umineko. There we go. Chat can be the old boring one without emotes for now. Until next dev stream, where we'll be able to make this thing work. And I got a much better idea on how to do so. Load. Here. I went back to where we were, which recapitulating, we were the family, the adults of the family went into the mansion. They bullied that girl. It was very sad because the butler is an asshole. They bullied her, and then she went back to the guest house to call on the kids to eat. Uh, if I'm not mistaken, to eat lunch. Now we're in the middle of going there, if I'm not mistaken. So let's go. Met once again by. Oh, let me stop the music. And the game's music is very low. There we go. Met once again by the magnificent rose garden, we continued onward as the intimidating mansion of the Ushiromiya head family came into view. It had apparently been built shortly after the war, so you could feel the dignity of almost a half a century hanging about it. That's very funny, like, it's not even 50 years old, and they write as if it was a relic. The building was gorgeous on the surface, but old as it was, equipment such as its AC and heating were apparently quite frail. According to Jessica, midwinter was especially tough, with all the drafts. Haven't these people ever heard of a kotatsu? I think that's that blanket that people use with that type of table where they sit and they eat oranges. The oranges? Not sure. Oh, here's the new models. Like they don't have the soul, but they aren't as soulless as the other one was. As we entered the entrance hall, an aged servant greeted us. Now him, I remembered. Genji-san, who had been working here longer than anyone, filled the role of head servant. Basa-sama, it has been quite some time since we last met. As our eyes met, he greeted me with a calm, composed voice. His bow wasn't as graceful or refined as Goda's, but despite its simplicity, it communicated his feelings very well. One good thing about the Japanese voices is that I'm not going to need to voice act or guess how the characters sound like. Genji-san, it really has been a while. You look well. Thank you, I have been quite well. And Basa-sama, you have become a splendid young man. You are beginning to resemble the master in his youth. I look like grandfather? Yeah, that means grandfather was very popular with the ladies when he was young. From here on, I shall take Shannon's place and accompany you. Please come this way. Shannon-chan bowed deeply and watched us leave. After that, we headed towards the dining room under Genji-san's guidance. Genji-san, just like Kumasawa-san, stood in stark contrast to us young people who had grown beyond recognition over the last 6 years. His appearance was exactly the same as in my memories from 6 years ago. It was as though time had stopped since the last time we met. Genji-san was an extremely quiet and diligent person. He was basically grandfather's close aide or caregiver, and you might even call him grandfather's companion of many years. In fact, it seems he was by grandfather's side even more often than my late grandmother was. According to Jessica, grandfather trusted him more than any of his blood relative. You get the idea. But I wonder how long he served. I never got the details, but I heard something about him being here since the very beginning, when this mission was first constructed. Which would mean that he's dedicated half of his life to serving here. It's easy to see why he's so trusted. As we passed through a massive hall that extended up into the second story of the mansion with no separating floor, I spotted something that I hadn't existed in my memory of 6 years ago. Cinema? Cinema? Peak cinema? Wait, champ. It was an awfully big portrait hanging right in front of the stairs that rose to the second floor. Without thinking, I stopped walking, captivated by it. Since I stopped so fast, Maria, who was falling behind me, ran into my back. Ooh. Sorry. Hey, Jessica. Has that picture always been there? I pointed at the big, prominently displayed portrait in the hall. Everyone else stopped too. Oh, right. When you last came here, that hadn't been hung yet, had it? When was it again? Well, if my memory doesn't fail me, it was put on display sometime around the year before last. Again, they saying 3 years ago in a very weird manner. You are correct, sir. In April of the year before last, the master put it on display there, having previously ordered a painter to create it. Grandfather did that. So he paid to have it painted just for him, huh? The portrait suited this Western mansion, and that woman in the elegant dress gave off a sense of refinement. I couldn't have guessed her age, but her sharp eyes and strong will she seemed to possess made her look youthful. She seemed somehow different from the composed, middle-aged woman who often see in famous pictures. If she had normal black hair, I might have assumed it was a portrait of my long-deceased grandmother in her prime. However, she had beautiful blonde hair and didn't look Japanese at all. So, just who is this lady? Maria answered that simple question enthusiastically, as though proud she knew the answer. Ooh, I know. She's Beatrice. Bea what? Beatrice. She's a witch. Didn't you ever hear stories about her long ago? A witch? You mean the witch of this island? I think I already said this, but Rokkenjima is a small island, only 10 kilometers in circumference. That's quite big. However, that's actually pretty massive considering that only the Ushiromiya family lives here. So only the harbor and the area around the mansion were set up to be lived in. Beyond that, the island remained as untouched as when it was inhabited. The vast and empty forest had absolutely no lights, phones, or people passing through. To understand how dangerous that is, you need to forget your common sense as a city dweller. That's funny because probably this is meaning about like Tokyo nerds who never left Tokyo and always lived their lives in Tokyo. As someone who lives in the countryside, that's understandable. But I believe someone who's a massive urbanoid, it might come as weird. After all, if you happen to fall down a hole in the depths of the forest and sprain your ankle, no one would come save you, no matter how much you cried or screamed. Then, once the sun went down, the forest would be wrapped in complete darkness, since there is no streetlights. And since there were no signs, it'd be easy to get lost and confused, losing your sense of direction inside the dark forest. Nowadays, most people see forests as a peaceful place, but to the people of bygone eras, before light of civilization drove out the night, forests were as geographically separated from civilization as the sea. They were oceans above the ground. That's actually pretty true. Sorry, my mom was asking about some meds. Ah, no. 1 second. All that. There were oceans above the ground. Fishermen who go out into the ocean were putting their lives at risk, despite their technical knowledge. In the same way, hunters who go out to the forest are in danger, despite having specialized knowledge of their own. If children were to go play in such dangerous forests, something terrible might happen. Someone's parents must have thought so. Maybe grandmother said it, or maybe it was grandfather himself. Or perhaps the story has been passed down on this island since ancient times. There's a terrible witch in the forest, so you must not go in. At some point, this ghost story of Rokkenjima was born. This is the legend of the Rokkenjima's witch. That's why, when we talk about a witch on this island, we're referring to the master of that vast and savage forest. Come to think of it, when I stayed at this mansion as a little kid, during those eerie nights when the wind and rain poured on the windows, I remember being terrified by a story of the forest witch. Who roamed around searching for human sacrifices. So, Beatrice, huh? When Aniki mentioned it, I searched my memory and I was sure I recall hearing a name like that when I was little. I see. Still, I totally forgot that the witch in that legend had an elegant name like Beatrice. So did grandfather go out of his way to have a portrait made just because we grandchildren didn't believe the story? She's the witch from grandfather's delusions. Ever since he had this picture hang, he's been having a harder and harder time telling the difference between truth and fantasy. To us, she's just a witch that exists in grandfather's mind, but to him, she's a being that exists on this island. Exists. He says he had that painting made because the rest of us would be incapable of understanding otherwise. The whole thing's creepy as hell. My lady, this portrait is precious to the master. I beg of you to not say such things in front of him. I know. Even if you didn't tell me, I'd never do something like that. Jessica glanced at the portrait with an irritated gaze before turning away. Let's go. You're making everyone wait in the dining room. Ooh, I'm hungry. Hello, hungry. Only a small portion of this island was controlled by the Ushiromiya family. All the lawless remainder was the domain of the witch, Beatrice. You might even call her the true ruler of Rokkenjima. I felt a faint revival of that unsettling sense of misfortune, which I'd felt when I learned of the tutelary god's shrine being struck by lightning, and remembered that Kumasawa-san tried to tell an ominous story about Rokkenjima before Jessica stopped her. I don't know what she was planning to tell us about this island, but I know one thing. It isn't the Ushiromiya family that rules Rokkenjima. It's the witch, Beatrice. That's right. After all, this is the witch's island. Butler? Ooh, you're slow. When I looked around, everyone was already heading towards the dining room. I heard Chase after them. We walked up to the huge double doors that led to the dining room. Genji-san knocked. I have brought the children. Please pardon the intrusion. The doors were open, and we were invited inside. Imagine they enter and like the parents are almost fist fighting each other. The dining room, which looked exactly like you'd imagine a rich person's dining room to be, had a super long table that was obviously positioned with no purpose other than to make the guests conscious of their rank. Our parents were sitting in accordance with the ordering. You're late, brats. Hurry up and take a seat. The old bastard pressed us to sit. The only gaps in that group of people were spots we were supposed to sit, which only made us feel our tardiness all the more. The seat at the head of the table, called the incipient chair, was for the most highly ranked, reserved for grandfather. It was still empty. He probably wanted to show up last for dramatic effect. For the perspective of someone facing the incipient chair head on, the sitting order went from left to right, with the lower ranking seats processing in rows of two further away from it. So, left hand side of the first row, closest to the incipient's chair, was where Uncle Kraus should have sat, which he was the second, since he was the second highest in rank. It looked like he hadn't arrived yet, so that seat was empty. Across from his chair, on the right side of the first row, sat the eldest daughter of the family, Aunt Eva, who was the third highest in rank. The left-hand side of the second row was the fourth highest in rank. This is very confusing, but okay. There sat my damn dad, Rudolph, the third of his siblings. Across from him, on the right side of the second row, sat Aunt Rosa, the youngest sibling. At this point, you might expect their husbands and wives to come next. But nope, the left-hand seat in the third row, rank number 6, belonged to Jessica. Opposite her was George Aniki. I sat next to Jessica, and Maria sat across me, because they are blood related. It makes sense. So people who are actually from the family sits next to the old guy, and people who are away, which mean their spouses and whatever, sit the furthest. Then finally, next to me, on the left-hand side of the fifth row, sat on Natsuhi, the 10th highest in rank. Why is she the last, even to the kid? Oh, because she's in she's a member of the Ushiromiya family. She's of Arendo. Opposite to her was Uncle Hideyoshi. Next to Aunt Natsushi, in the sixth row and final seat on the left-hand side, sat Kiria-san. Weird. The set opposite to Kiria-san was empty. even though silverware had been set there and everything. Hmm. According to this ranking system, that spot was where Aunt Rose's husband should be sitting, even though he wasn't supposed to be coming. His place was made up. Normally, ranking systems of this sort give spouses equal position as their partners, but the Ushirimiya family's system was unique. Maybe it's a remnant of male chauvinism. If you start with the assumption that a woman's womb is just something to be borrowed, when the children of direct descent would come first, directly followed by the grandchildren. In other words, spouses have no blood ties and therefore placed at the end of the line. It's terrible, but by this system my grandmother would be ranked even lower than me if she were still alive. In their youth, they obeyed their father. After they get married, their husband. After aging, their children. That's actually pretty based. There is a note saying, women have no home in any realm. Long ago, when I was still incapable of figuring out all of this out, I thought it was so great that we could all chat in our little groups. Adult siblings with adult siblings with adult siblings, and cousins with cousins. However, now that I came to re-examine the sitting order after growing up a bit, it stirs up some very complicated feelings in me. Natsuhi, who was married to the eldest son and was de facto member too in managing this family, sat to my right, which meant that she was 2 steps lower than me in the ranking order. It was hard to imagine that what might be going on inside her heart. That's why I made a small apologetic gesture towards her before sitting down. Nice to see you, Bata-kun. You've grown quite tall, haven't you? Yep. 6 long years of eating well, sampling various cuisines, and deriving sustenance from mothers of responsible gifts. Hard work, but I pulled through. Growing just like a boy, you see. How tall are you now? I guess about 180 centimeters. But on Natsuhi, that's where you're supposed to say heck. Sounds like all you did was eat. Huh? Oh. Giggle. I'm sorry. After a short pause, she did laugh at me, but it seemed she couldn't quite figure out what she was supposed to be laughing at. This woman is Aunt Natsuhi. She's the wife of the eldest son of the family, meaning she's my father's oldest brother's wife. Is it simpler if I just call her Jessica's mother? It feels bad to say it like this, but oh, what did I do? Okay, it feels bad to say it like this, but while I didn't exactly dislike her, I didn't particularly like her either. She hardly ever spoke to us kids, and all my memories of her involved her talking to the elders about complicated things, with a scary look on her face. In fact, since we hardly ever exchange words, I spent a long time trying to figure out how I should approach her, though my efforts seemed to have ended in failure. The silverware sat neatly on the table, but the meal itself hadn't been brought in yet. As a general rule, you couldn't start a meal until the person sitting at the head of the table arrived, so as long as grandfather didn't come, lunch would be put on hold indefinitely. Not even appetizers would arrive. Simply put, the silence in this room was caused by our parents enduring their hunger while they waited for our grandfather to arrive. However, the grandfather from my memories would always show up on time to meals like this. He was the kind person who would never be so late that it kept everyone waiting. especially after the entire group had arrived.
遅えな、じいさま。
Grandfather is pretty late.
俺の記憶じゃ、時間に厳格な人だ
As
った
far
と
as I
思う
can
んだけど
remember,
な
he was always strict about time.
まあ、6年前は
Well,
そうだっ
it
た
might
か
have
も
been
な。
true 6 years ago,
最近はそうでもねえよ。
but it hasn't been that way
と
lately.
いうか、もう自分の世界
In
の
fact,
んび
he's
り
off
って感
in
じで
his own
外
little
食にも
world
顔を出さねえぜ。
so often that he doesn't even show up at family meals.
さすがに今日くらいは足並みを揃えて
So I
くれ
figured
る
he'd
と
at
思って
least
たん
calm
だ
down
けどな。
today.
まあ、私は
Still,
来ない方
I
が
figured
気
he'd
楽
at
で嬉
least.
しいけどよ。
Oh, then again, I feel a lot more relaxed and happy without him.
ジェシカ。
Jessica! When her mother scolded her, Jessica stuck her tongue out and looked away. No way around it. Might as well wait until our host arrives. When I glanced at the clock, I saw it was almost 12:20. Something like 12 a.m. 20. I don't know. You guys can figure it out. Ushiromiya Kinzo. The aged family head of the Ushiromiya head family. This man could be seen in his study. The clock had already passed noon, but he didn't even attempt to rise from his seat. With his spectacles on, he built up a growing pile of books with elaborate bindings, which he had then read intentionally. You couldn't really say that he was having too much fun to stop. Rather, he filled the room with a sense of impatience, or perhaps a sense of impending danger, as though every second wasted was a tragedy. I mean, he is dying. In this sealed room, a dense dust danced through the air, which was thick with the stench of chemicals that exuded a mix of suspicious odors. Those odors were somehow sweet and heavy. If anyone with a normal nose came in here, the first thing they do would be to open a window and ventilate this room. The knocking against the study door had been going on for a while. A voice calling "Father" sometimes mingled with the knocks. As Kinzo heaved a deep sigh, he snapped shut the old book in his hands and slammed it on the table. Then he yelled at Kraus, who was still knocking on the door. Silence! Enough of this directed, you fool! Who told you the door would be open if you but knocked? Or crucified, imbecile! Do you wish to suffer the same fate? Father, this is the day of the family conference, which happens only once a year, is it not? Everyone's gathered down below. Please come out. Cross called out to his father through the door. Hi, Burger. Hello. How are you? Not sure if you're keeping up with the lore, but basically we arrived at the thing. We saw Beatrice on a portrait, which was really well painted. Now we're waiting the Had family to get off of his study to go eat with everyone, because if he doesn't arrive, if he doesn't come, system backlog. There we go. Cross called to his father through the door. Kinzo always shut himself up in the study. Kinzo is the old guy, hating it when nearly anyone, even his family, entered the room. For that reason, Cross had no choice but to call him from the corridor like this. Molest me not. Just who is this everyone of which you speak? Do you mean the fools trying to drag me out of here?
ならば殺してしまい
Then kill them
ボ
all.
ロボロにして薪にして魔女の
Tear them
に
apart,
食べ
use
て
their
しまい
bodies for firewood, and feed them into the witch's hearth.
その炉には鍋をかけて
Put a pot in that hearth and to boil the wormwood.
黙示録の
Force the
虹色
imbeciles who
それ
dare
でも
try
私
to
を
lure me
ここから
out of
連
here
れ出そう
to
と
drink
す
the
る
broth
バカ者
of the
どもにの
apocalypse.
残りは
I will
酒に
soak
つける
their
のだ
dregs in liquor. Ah, where's Genji? Go for Genji.
苦害の魔師を用意
I have my
させろ
demonic absinthe prepared. Have my demonic absinthe prepared.
緑の妖精
The
の
whispering
囁
of
きが
the
届か
green
ない
fairy reaches me no longer.
ああ、源氏はどこ
Ah,
だ
where's Genji? Bring him
源氏を
here.
呼べ
Very cool. I don't have a lick of sense of what you're talking about. Umineko. This water tastes like shit. It tastes like pool water. On the other side of the room, Crawls, Nanjol and Genji kept waiting for the master of the house, who stubbornly refused to come out.
すっかり嫌われてしまったようだ。
Looks like he hates me to the core.
もう私の声では何も届かんよ。
That sounds like Dio. My voice doesn't reach him anymore. Crawls shrugged as though saying, "It's no use," and smiled bitterly. From the beginning, he hadn't really experienced his father to respond to his call. He hadn't really expected his father to respond to his calls. However, since it was the duty of the eldest son, he had tried as a formality. Did you, Burger, did you get yourself time out again? Don't tell me you did, please. However, since it was the duty of the eldest son, he had tried as a formality.
金蔵さん、
Kinza-san,
あんたの顔を見に
your sons, daughters, and grandchildren have come to see you. Have they not?
ちょっと顔を見せてやったらどうだね。
Could you just let them see your face, if only for a short while?
うるさい黙れ
Damn. I agree. Couldn't agree more. Shut up, be silent.
私に意見するというか何条
You dare to admonish me, Nanjo.
貴様など呼んではおらぬ私は源氏を呼
I
べと言っ
never
たのだ
told you. I never told anyone to get you. I told them to get Genji.
さあ急げ
Now call for
す
him
ぐに呼べ
immediately.
時間は常に有限だ
Time is short. The apostles are already reading their trumpets. So why can't you foolish sheep understand? Kinzo slammed a old heavy book against the table over and over. That racket clearly expressed his great displeasure. Kinzo put his spectacles down and flew up from his chair. He spread his arms wide open as if to sign a packed opera house. As if to sing to a packed opera house. As if appealing to someone. And yelled.
なぜだ
Why? Vex, have you watched Breaking Bad? I watched the first episode and the last episode. The first episode because I wanted. The last episode was an accident. Why?
なぜにいつも私
Why is there
は邪魔
always
な
something in my way?
全てを捨てよ
I would throw
全
it
て
all
を
away.
捧
I
げ
would
よ
offer up
その
everything.
見返りに私は
And there is
一つしか
only
求
one thing
め
I
ない
ask in
という
your
の
payment.
にああベアトリーチェお前の微笑みをもう一度見られるならば私は世界中から美少を奪い取り全てをお前に捧げよう
Oh, Beatrice, if I could see your smile, but one more time, I would plunder the smiles of the earth and offer them all up to you, the most raped guy ever.
おお南語の軍団長たちよ世界中から美少を刈り取り収穫せ
Oh, commanders of the legions of locusts, reap the smiles of the earth. Cough, 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 cough.
全てが汚らわしい全てが煩わしい
keep yourself safe. You too, dude. Oh, everything is filthy. Everything is irksome.
なぜこの貴重な一日に私は邪魔を受けねばならぬのか。
Why must I suffer this impediment on this most precious of days? Dude is dying.
源氏を呼べ。
Call for Genji.
何を怒鳴ってるのかもさっぱりだ
I have no idea what he's yelling about.
な。もう頭がどうにかなっているのだろう。
He's probably lost his mind by now.
クラウスさん、
Kraus-san.
実のお父さんに。そりゃ
Isn't it a bit harsh to say such a thing of your own father?
親父は
My father is already dead.
ここにいるのは
There's nothing here but a phantom of what father once was. Why is he blonde?
いずれにせよ、本人に
At any rate, as long as he has no intention of coming out, hehe, there's nothing we can do.
金蔵さん、
Kinzo-san. Choking coughs continued to pour from the study.
私は下に戻
I'm
る。
going back. I'm going down. Yeah, I'm going back downstairs.
ゴーダの自慢のランチをこれ以上無駄に冷ましてしまうことはない。
It would be a waste to let the fruits of Goda's prized cooking talent get any colder.
親類たちにとって当家での数少ない楽しみ
It's one of the few things our relatives can look forward to when they come to this house. Kraus spun around. He looked at his watch, mumbling an exit as though he had wasted time doing something he knew it would be in vain.
源氏さん、
源氏さん、
親父殿がお呼びだ。
Father is calling for you.
相手を頼む。
Keep him company.
かしこまりました。
Certainly.
南條先生、
Dr. Nanjo,
食事に行きましょ
let's go
う。
eat.
いつまでもここにいると。
If we stay here any longer, the sweet stench will ruin our sense of taste. Without waiting for Nanjo, Kraus went downstairs. Kraus is a very cool name. Genji urged Nanjo to go and eat. Nanjo glanced between the study door and Kraus' back as the latter disappeared down downstairs. Then let out a deep sigh.
すまんが、源氏さん、
Sorry, Genji-san,
頼みます。
but please allow me to leave this in your hands.
はい、
Yes, please
お
leave it to
任せ
me.
ください。お酒はなるべく与えない。
Do what you can to avoid giving him alcohol.
あれは常習性が強すぎる。
It's a habit that's far too difficult to break.
源氏はまだか。
Is Genji not here yet?
何者が源氏を
Who dares to keep Genji from coming?
源氏はどこだ。
Wow, where's
源氏
Genji?
を呼べ。
Call for Genji!
さあ、
Please,
ここは。
allow me to handle the situation here. Very well,
すみませんな。
forgive me. Dude, it must be very tough on this butler's, like, mind and body and everything. Because he has to keep on with the ramblings of this old man. Nanjo bowed slightly and descended the stairs. Genji watched him leave, then knocked on the study door.
親方様、
Master,
源氏でございます。
it is Genji.
源氏か。
Genji,
何故私をこ
why
の
have you
ことに
kept me
待た
waiting
す
so
のか。そ
long?
こには誰もおる
You're
まいな
alone, I trust. Correct.
私だけ
I
で
am
ござい
alone.
ます。
Kinzo returned to his seat in the study and pressed an old-fashioned switch on the table. Well, after a small delay, a heavy sound of the door unlocking could be heard. Kinzo was convinced that his family wanted to make a mess of his study. Or perhaps someone had once opened the window for some air and ended up scattering things that to him were important research materials, leaving him in terrible mood. Kinzo had outfitted his room with a formidable look, preventing anyone from entering without his permission and thereby sealing himself in a jail of his own making. Genji, who he trusted the most, was relatively free to enter the room, but even that didn't always hold. If Kinzo was in a bad mood, even Genji wouldn't be able to enter. Anyone else would be limited to holding the conversation through the door, unable even to see Kinzo's face. Borger, I'm not sure if you just ask what is happening. Basically, I'll give you a very quick rundown because there has been like 4 streams, very long streams of this thing. I probably read this VN more than I read any book, and it hasn't even come out of the prologue or something. Nothing actually happened yet. But basically, there's this family, which is very rich. There's plenty of people, but the main character, which I assume is the main character, Butler-san, he hasn't come to this meeting where the whole family comes to this main island out of the coast of Japan, where they dine together, and it's like a bonding kind of thing. I'm not sure. And Butler hasn't come for 6 years, and now he's coming back to it after 6 years, and it's all about, oh, how the house is pretty, how the garden is pretty, and then he goes and he sees his siblings and everything, and he grew to be a very tall guy, and this guy is dying, the old man is dying, and he has a fortune, and he thinks there's a witch that is going to, I don't know, eat his liver, but he really loves this witch, and it's like a major sin for her. And everyone, and there's this kind of tense thing between the siblings because no one knows who truly inherited his stuff. And yeah, great. However, this didn't trouble the rest of the family much. After all, it just wasn't worth the effort to disturb this aging family head. Just one question. Who was impossible to please and always stayed shut away, immersed in his research. Taking advantage of his refusal to leave his room, they supported his isolation, putting his care entirely in the hands of the servants.
Genji, いつものやつを頼む。
In what sense have you read Umineko than any books? Time-wise or length-wise? I'd say time-wise. Of course, they're probably word-wise. It isn't. Like, I've read some pretty long Sherlock and Hercule Poirot stories, but time-wise, I'm pretty sure it is. Also, I'm pretty sure this was exaggeration, but a friend of mine told this VN in its completion is like 7 times larger than the Bible, from like 4 million or something words. Pretty bonkers. Genji, my usual. I'm busy. Yes, sir. Genji headed to a corner of the study. There, suspicious-looking bottles, boasted venomous colors, were on display. They were actually liquor, but considering the shady atmosphere of the room, one might easily suspect them of being some ghastly poison. Inside the study, the mysterious collection of books gathered by Kinzo had grown into a mountain. They were bizarre, ancient, or banned books, all of them either forbidden, cursed, or sealed. But if you tried to call them old books, Kinzo would fly into a rage and say, "Call them grimoires." There were also many mysterious objects that presumably had some meaning with regards to black magic, like candles suspiciously melted and molded into strange shapes, and constellations drawn on a certain celestial globe contained quite a few shapes that would draw puzzle looks from anyone familiar with today's night sky. The Bible isn't that big of a book, to be honest. It isn't, but it's like 7 times larger than it. It still is 4 million words. Like, I was searching before like reading this thing, and like the largest books are like 1 million words. Like the largest novels or even series of novels are like 3 million words long. This thing is ginormous, ginormosaurus. The curiously strain about books contain many illustrations, all of them of a religious or mysterious nature. including some depicting demonically grotesque subjects or bizarre diagrams of various magical circles. And above all, a sweet, poisonous smell filled the room, profoundly assaulting the eyes and noses of those who entered for the first time. Okay, that is pretty wrong. Yeah. This friend of mine, which helped me download the mod that makes the VN look prettier and more digestible, he said that I didn't do a great job of a choice choosing to start with Umineko. I thought Higurashi was longer. Higurashi is like a million and like 1.5 million words less than this. It's so long. It's like 3 million words long. But I think Higurashi wouldn't be as nice because I know Higurashi a lot more than I know Umineko. You know, Umineko I pretty much got no sense of what is happening. Higurashi I already know, like, okay, Rika is in a death loop, and I know what is the curse. And the curse is also a virus and stuff. So I know the idea of the things happening. Here I'm pretty blind to what is happening. I know there's going to be suspicious, weird stuff. Eventually, I don't know, Beatrice is going to appear and break dance in front of everyone. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure something weird will happen. Supernatural, just like Higurashi. Is it going to involve time loops? I don't know. Eventually, it must surely make a person go numb and lose their grip on reality. Inside the study, Genji prepared Kinzo's usual drink with a well-trained hand. No one would even think of drinking such a numbness dark green liquid in that complex and ornate glass, unless someone first told them it was alcohol. He poured a little into the glass. You should have started with Snoot Game. What is Snoot Game? He poured a little into the glass, then he placed a cube of sugar in a strangely shaped spoon and poured water from a pitcher over it. Strangely, when the transparent water was poured, the dark green liquid turned a cloudy white. It was a strange optical illusion, as though the water had caused a chemical reaction and made the drink become even more unrecognizable as liquor. Then Genji added original flavors Kinzo loved, fine-tuning its taste. Then there was no recipe. Its success was measured only by Kinzo's mood swings when he drank it, and had taken Genji many decades to learn how to do it right. Genji placed the glass on a tray and walked over to Kinzo. By this time, Kinzo was gazing out the window. Here, master. Thank you. Kinzo had regained his composure and was now unrecognizable as the shouting, screaming, yelling man of a few moments ago. Looking at this man from behind, as he tilted his glass and gazed down at the scenery beyond the window, he projected a sense of dignity and intelligence. To allow Kinzo to set his glass down at any time, Genji motionlessly waited behind Kinzo to his left, as though he were a living sideboard. Then, without averting his eyes from the window, Kinzo held up his glass. There was only a mouthful remaining. It was not a gesture intended to set it up on the tray, but a motion to hand the glass over to Genji. Drink, my friend. Your words are too kind for me. No need for a ceremony between us. Drink, my friend. Thank you. Genji respectfully received the glass and inclined it a little to taste its contents. After that, he gulped it down.
お前が作るのを真似ているのだがどうにも同じ味が出ぬ。
I attempted to imitate your concoction, but no matter how I try, I cannot replicate the taste.
お前が作る方がうまい。
The way you make it is pure relish.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
親方様のご指導
It is fruit of your guidance, master. Kingsley smiled at his loyal subject, who refused to put aside rank even when asked to. However, he was not making fun of him. His smile was relaxed, as though chuckling at our old friend's old, unshakable habit.
互いに老いたな。
We have grown old together.
年を数えることも
I stopped counting
忘
the
れ
years
て
long
すで
ago.
に久し。
今日まで過ごすことをお許しいただけたの
It is entirely thanks to you, master, that I have been able to
親
live
方
like
様の
this
お
until
かげで
today.
ございます。
Kingzo gave a faint smile, as if to say he didn't need any flattery.
今日まで
Until now, you have served me exceedingly well. My sons call me eccentric. The servants that were once many have all quit in fear of me. Only you serve me even now.
もったいないお言葉です。
Your words are more than I deserve.
私の余命もそう
My
長
life
くはあ
will
るま
not
い。
last much longer. Wait. For them to stop talking before... I'm not sure, is it too much? Are they too loud? That's the issue. To me, they are quite low. So that's why I start talking above them, because I think my voice is going to override them. Okay, I'm going to turn them a little bit down. I didn't know they were that loud. The idea was, okay, they're talking Japanese, but I'm not going to... I get it. But I'm doing this way because it would be very annoying to wait every single Japanese person to talk, for me to talk. But thank you for notifying. My life will not last much longer. My sons are vultures. No, it's good. As I told earlier, at least it gives me a notion of how things should sound. My sons are vultures, lazily waiting for my inheritance to fall into their hands. Now that you mention it, I'll do the waiting game. I'll wait for them Japs to speak, and then I will speak. Kraus is a fool who squanders money like water, who throws away 2 gold coins to obtain 1. Does that mean he gambled? And then he has the gall to claim that he has earned money. Eva is a slave to money, who thinks of me as a mere chicken. When I die, she plans to use my bones to make broth. The Dunes Rudolph just wants to fool around with women. Rosa bore the baby of a man who came from nowhere, and about whom we know nothing. That's pretty much. When an old head speaks, you shut your mouth and listen. So I get it. The older one gambles. The other one is extremely fanatic with money. Rudolph is a womanizer, and Rosa had a case with a guy and bore their children. So we got gambling, we got greed, we got lust, and we got a bitch. Jessica is incompetent and uneducated. George has none of what it takes to be a man. Womanizer, can we get the base department over here? Jessica is incompetent and uneducated. George has none of what it takes to be a man. Butler is a fool who threw away the honor of the Ushiromiya family.
マリアなど見るのも汚らわしい。
And Maria is obscene to the eye.
なぜだ、なぜに後ろ宮の血はこうも無能なのか。
Why is the Ushiromiya blood so incompetent?
私の築き上げた栄光を受け継ぐにふさわしい者はおらんのか。
Is there no one worthy to inherit the glory it built?
ああ、わかっておるとも。これがベアトリーチェの呪いであることもわかっておる。
Of course I know. This is part of Beatrice's curse. I know it. I'm kind of weird, champ, with his statement because, like, okay, Borger, aren't going to understand this, but George has none of what it takes to be a man. George is like one of the best guys here. Like he's smart and he's kind. I'm not sure what this guy thinks. Like maybe he thinks he's insecure, maybe, or maybe too kind. Like Akira, Jessica is uneducated. She's very bad-mouthed and stuff, and Butler is a fool. But George, I really don't agree with him with his statement with George. George to me is He isn't. He's like 23 and he has good grades, he has good relationship with his parents and everything. He's really good with children, with Maria, which is the little girl. He's extremely educated. Like he's very polite and stuff. I really don't know what he means by this. By the way, these are the characters. This is George, an affable young man liked by everyone in the family. He is currently studying as an assistant for his father's company, and it seems he dreams of making his own one day. Like he's a very young man who's very smart. Mother is an idiot who he isn't an idiot. Like he reacted in a reasonable way regarding to his stupid father. This woman, from afar, you can see she's egoistic. She's by far the youngest of the 4 siblings. It seems this gives her a weaker position at the family conference. She manages a design company, but she has yet to start taking it seriously, and financial situation is far from favorable. Interesting. Like she had a case with a guy. She bore the children of a random dude. She is not educated enough. She's very mean and tomboyish. And again, this guy is perfect. I really like him. I really like George. His dad is kind of weird, but he's not a bad guy also. His mom is kind of a bitch. I know this is part. I know.
黄金の魔女め、それが私への復讐のつもりか。
Ha! You golden witch, are you trying to take revenge against me in this way?
憎みたくば憎むがよい。
If you want to hate me, then do so.
逃げたければ逃げるがよい。
If you want to run away, then run.
逃がさぬ、逃がさぬ、逃がさぬ、逃がさぬわ。
I won't let you go. 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 Me when I help women to walk at night by running towards them.
お前は私のものだ。
You belong to me.
常に私の腕の中でなくてはならん。
You must always be in my arms
私の生涯のすべてなのだ。
for all my life.
我が鳥かごにて永遠に私だけにささやき続けるのだ。
You must stay in my bird cage for all eternity, whispering only to me.
ベアトリーチェ。
Beatrice.
なぜに微笑み返してはくれぬ。
Why won't you smile back at me?
お
I'm not going to war.
ベアトリーチェ
The voice actor is really good. After howling, Kinzo choked once again. Genji set the tray and glass down and rubbed his master's back. Genji's facial expression did not change. It was always like this.
すまぬ我が友よ
Thank you, my friend. When his seemingly deranged fits subsided, Kinzo regained his composure once again. It was like seeing two different people, a wild Kinzo and a composed Kinzo, living together inside one body.
ゆえに
And so
私は決心した
I have decided
このままぼやききった余生を怠慢に過ごすことなどもはや耐えられはせん
I cannot bear to spend my dimmed remaining years procrastinating like
こ
this.
の身に最後にとするコインがあるならばそれを悪魔たちのルーレットに託してみたい
If I have one final coin to bet, then I choose to abandon it to the whims of the demon's roulette.
魔法の力はいつもかけるリスクで決まる
Demon's roulette is a really cool name. The power of magic is always determined by the risk of the gamble. Gambling! This game is about gambling! Let's go gambling with demons!
日本古来の呪術である牛の国参りがそうであろう
Like visiting a shrine at the hour of the ox in ancient Japanese sorcery, to nail a cursed doll to a tree.
7日間儀式を目撃されてはならないというリスクを支払うからこそ魔力が宿る
Magical power is produced especially because of the risk that it will be seen within the 7 days the curse takes.
困難なリスクが生じれば生じるほどに魔力は強く生じるのだ
The greater the risk, the stronger the magic power will be.
神話に登場する数々の奇跡は天文学的リスクに奇跡的な低確率を得て成就した驚愕すべき魔力の結晶なのだと言える
He talks a lot. Many miracles that happen in myth might be called the crystallization of shocking magic power, with a low probability of occurrence and astronomical risk.
モーゼが海を割ったのは神の奇跡ではない
That Moses parted the waters of the sea was not a miracle of God. At least they used God with a capital
軍勢
G.
によって航海に追い詰められた絶対絶命のリスクが奇跡の魔力を生んだのだ
The risk of that desperate situation, borne by soldiers on the Red Sea shore, weighed upon the scales of slaughter and gave birth to that miraculous magical power.
同じことが同じ規模で繰り返されようとも再び海が割れることはないだろう
If the same thing occurred again on the same scale, the sea would surely fail to part.
なぜならモーゼは力ある者たちのルーレットの麻生木ナユタをかけたよ
What is
り
he
も多
talking
く
about?
存在する目の中
What
に
is blood
一つだ
talking?
け刻まれた奇跡を見事引き寄せることができたからだワペアトリー
Dang it. I forgot that I can press control. Failed to part. After all, Moses was able to magnificently summon a miracle engraved on but one of the countless innumerable results on the roulette of those with power. That is, the force that can triumph over astronomical odds. Indeed, good fortune that can grasp miracles is magical power itself. To obtain this mighty power, one must face the risk of despair. Those who possess no magical power may call that desperation rather than a bad. However, people who truly do possess magical power can grasp hold of that miracle and make the enigma come into being. And if that power exists within me, I'll seize that miracle. I'll have a chance in making the wish I devoted my life towards come true. Kinzo looked up to the sky outside the window. He spread his arms as if appealing to someone up in the skies. If only we were capable of grasping that miracle. Oh, Beatrice. Beatrice.
お前の愛くるしい笑顔をもう一度だけ見せてくれ。
Show me your lovely smile once
ど
more.
れほどの月日を経ようともお前の面影が消えることはない。
No matter how much time passes, your face does not vanish.
ただお前の美少が見たい。それだけだ。
I just want to see your smile, that is
お
all.
前から授かったものをすべて返そう。
I'll return everything you granted me.
あの日からの栄光をすべてお前に返そう。
I'll return all the glory I've gained since that day.
富も名誉も黄金もいらぬ。
I don't need fortune, prestige, or
お
gold.
前に授かったすべてを返そう。
I'll return everything you gave me.
私はただお前の美少が見たいだけなのだ。
I just want to see your smile.
交渉だ、ベアトリーチェ。
I beg of you, Beatrice. This guy is like the final boss of Longhousing. His nonsensical yells became a scream and then a wail. Kinzo slumped to the floor, tearing at it with both hands. True. Kinzo slumped to the floor, tearing at it with both hands. Genji had no choice but to wordlessly watch over his master's lamentations. Eternally longing for the girl that rejected
やあ
him.
諸君
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
当主様は具合が優れられないとのことだ。
the family's health is not at its best.
せっかくこうして1年ぶりの会合に集まってくれた諸君と昼食を共にできないことを
He seemed
非常に残
extremely
念にして
sad.
お
Oh,
られ
sorry.
た。
He seemed extremely sad to not be able to share lunch with you all, now that you have gathered for this event that occurs but once a year.
ゴーダ、ランチを始めてくれ。
Goda, let the lunch begin.
かしこまりました。それでは本日の昼食を始めさせていただきます。
Certainly, I shall begin today's luncheon.
南條先生、そんなにお父様のお具合は悪いの？
Dr. Nanju, is father's condition really that bad?
せめて顔くらい見せてくれてもいいわよね。
Couldn't he have at least let us see his face?
体調というよりは機嫌ですな。
It's more a problem of mood than a physical
これ
condition.
ばかりはつける薬がありませんので。
And for that, there is no medicine that I can prescribe.
おいおい、機嫌ってまたかよ。そりゃないぜ。
Hey, are we talking about this mood again? You've got to be kidding me.
こちとら、秋のクソ忙しい時期にスケジュール都合して、ご機嫌伺いに来てるんだ。
We took time out of our schedules during this damn busy autumn season just to come and find out how he's doing.
それをよ。
And now he's...
よかったじゃないか、ルドルフ。
Then you should be happy, Rudolph.
ご機嫌は伺えたんだ。
You know how he's doing.
それとも、不機嫌な親父殿を私に代わり、お前が説得して連れてきてくれるのかね。
Or what? Would you rather take my place and try to persuade our ill-humored father to come join us?
まさか。
You're kidding me. Rudolph shrugged. Apparently, though Rudolph was willing to be indignant of how self-centered his father was, he wasn't particularly disappointed to be spared of a face-to-face meeting.
夕食までにはその機嫌治りそうなの？
You can really see like the difference in age. They are probably like 10 to like maybe 20 years apart from each other. No, 20 I think it's a bit too much, but I imagine Rosa isn't that old. I think Rosa might be like on her early 30s and Kraus might be on his late 40s. Does it seem like his mood will improve before dinner?
クロス兄さん、
Kraus-san?
そんなことは知ら
I
ない
have no idea.
親父殿に直接聞いてみるといい
If you want to know that, you should ask him directly.
もっとも声をかけない方が機嫌の治りは早いと思う
Although I think his mood will improve faster if you don't bother him.
源氏さんだけだよ。じい様の機嫌を直せるのは。
30s? Hag? Yeah. She is, but she's in 40s, 50s old, you know? Genji-san's the only one who can get grandfather out of funk.
情けないぜ。自分の親の機嫌を使用人に直させるんだからよ。
It's pretty pathetic though, making the servants deal with your own parents' bad mood.
ジェシカ
Jessica,
余計なことは言わなくていい
don't speak out of turn. She planned for her complaint to be heard only by her cousins, but it had reached even Krau's ears. Scolded, Jessica scowled and turned away, sulking.
機嫌がうんぬんってことは病状はそんな悪くないんじゃねえの？
If he's as cranky as they make him sound, he can't be that terribly sick,
元
right?
気がないってんならともかく機嫌が悪いってのは少なくとも気はしっかりしてる証拠だぜ。
I mean, they're saying he's in a bad mood, not that he's not got no energy, which at least proves he's got his wits about him.
おじい様は特に強い気力をお持ちだからね。
It's because grandfather has especially strong willpower.
でも体が必ずしもそれに伴えるとは限らないよ。
However, that doesn't necessarily mean his blood will be able to keep up.
去年からずっと余命3ヶ月って言われ続けてる。
Since last year, they keep saying that he has 3 months left.
最初の診断が正しいなら、おじい様は気力だけで流らえてるってことになる。
If the initial diagnosis was correct, grandfather has been prolonging his life by willpower alone.
気遣ってあげないといけないよ。
It's right for us to worry about him. Launch started with the family had seat still empty. The man who should be sitting there had already grown old, and the brilliant glory which he had rebuilt the Ushiromiya family in the span of a single lifetime was being forgotten. Even though they were beginning to mill with that seat still empty, no one felt it was that odd anymore. This doesn't even feel like a story I really am just seeing. That's the thing. From what I know, this guy's writing style is very slow burn. Like, you can see this on Higurashi. Higurashi, you spend a good chunk of the episode maybe not happening anything, and then bam, someone's ripped apart, or I don't know, someone's shot in the head. You know, I think this is how he structures his writing. Like, it's very slice of life at the beginning, and then shit starts hitting the fan. So this is necessary to set up the moods for you to get to know the characters, get to know their intricacies, their issues, and whatever, before stuff starts happening, you know. I explained that these sprites aren't as they don't have as much soul as the old ones, but they look more pleasing to the eyes of the modern viewer. And I can't change them fast. I need to open up the mod menu and reload a bunch of stuff in order to get the old ones back in. Even though they were beginning the meal with that seat still empty, no one felt it was that odd anymore. Umineko? It's 1. It's 2. It's 1.5. Rondo of the Witch and Reasoning. I am Zoomer. The Ushiromiya family conference was held once every year on the first weekend of October. If a normal family were to hold a so-called family conference, you'd expect it to be nothing more than a reunion of rarely seen relatives who greet each other around buckets of sushi or something. However, part of the family's great fortune had been lent out to grandfather's children. And no one in this family was considered an adult until they had met this. And no one in this family was considered an adult until they had met with success in business. So this meeting literally was a conference. How much of a fortune was invested? What sort of business was conducted? How much profit was earned? As a result, how much of the fortune borrowed from the main family could be repaid? Oh. So, like, they got the money because they're rich, but they gotta do something with that money, or the siblings are going to look down on them. Or possibly, how much more would be borrowed for future business ventures? What lessons had they learned, and what could they learn from their mistakes? It seems that topics like these were discussed very seriously in the past. My dad's seat was like lying on a bed of nails. Apparently it used to be a very serious family meeting, where people were bathed in scornful and angry voices, and some people even got slapped despite their age. Badge. However, that had become a thing of the past. Now, with everyone pursuing their own business ventures and achieving success, it was becoming more normal, of a more normal yearly get-together. Even so, telling grandfather about recent events was extremely stressful. So while it was nothing more than a simple get-together for us grandchildren, it was still a real stomachache for our parents. The absence of the man who was the source of all this trouble, regardless of the reason, probably made today's lunch taste much more delicious. The phrase, "while the demon is not around, everyone can relax," comes to mind. Anyway, let's introduce Jessica's father, whose face I haven't seen for 6 years. The man sitting to my father's left is his older brother, and Jessica's father, Uncle something. This name sure is easy to read, Kraus. Now that we've gotten used to this string of weird names, our perspectives is totally skewed, so Kraus doesn't actually seem that bad. It's probably talking about Japanese pronunciation of these words. It even starts to sound kinda cool. Just like with Natsuhi, I didn't have any memories of speaking with Uncle Kraus. He had never been one to chat to children, and I felt like he was always talking with the adults, just like Natsuhi. According to my father gossip, he was a spiteful and violent man. If what he said is true, Uncle Kraus used to be very domineering from his position as the oldest sibling, and was despised by all the other siblings. Though, despite that, those siblings all seemed to be chatting happily together. Well, even if their relationship was bad when they were children, sometimes when people grow up and live apart from each other, the relationships change. That's probably what this was. After all, they all had children about the same age. By sharing the same family environment, they probably profited by exchanging opinions. Maybe because of that, a short while ago, the circle of parents began to discuss exams Jessica and I would be taking. Jessica ignored to escape questions about exams on my father on her left, from my father on her left, purposefully faced right while firing off a rapid series of comments, not giving him any chance to get a word in. Moving on, let's look at the end opposite from Cross and the others. In the very last seat at the table, an old gentleman with a sturdy physique sat facing Kiryu-san. This was my first time meeting him. I had only just been introduced to him, but it seems his grandfather's personal doctor, a man called Nanjo. I heard he used to own a huge clinic in the nearby island of Nijima, but he turned it over to his son and began living a life of leisure in his old age. He had known grandfather since the very beginning, when the mansion was first constructed on this island, and had built up a relationship with over several decades. I thought at first that the two of them might have gotten to know each other, even through grandfather's suspicious hobbies, but it seems he was actually grandfather's chess partner. I see. That kind of hobby seems very like our grandfather, what with his love for all things Western. Nanjo's probably the only person who could enter Rokkenjima despite being neither a family member nor a servant. He looked like a calm old gentleman as he listened to this discussion between Kiryu and the other woman who sat near to him. Considering how long he stayed by the side of our short-tempered grandfather, his generous heart had probably nothing to laugh at. Still, even if he was a family doctor, having anyone outside of the Ushiromiya family attend the family conference was a little odd. It made me think that grandfather's condition might have worsened so much it'd be a major topic of discussion at today's conference. After all, George said something like that just a second ago. Something about how we've been getting continuous reports since around last year that grandfather didn't have long to live. It's nasty to think about it, but considering how rich grandfather is, at the time of his death, his wealth will suddenly be released, probably along with a fair share of our parents' stomach acid, and will lead to ulcers for everyone. After all, this sort of thing just gets messier when there's more wealth to be divided. There's a good chance they'll be talking about stuff like that at the family conference. Still, it's not like it's got anything to do with us kids. Finally, even though he hasn't shown up, let me introduce our grandfather. The person who should be sitting in that incipient chair is Ushiromiya Kinzo. It really sucks. Everyone else in the family has these weird names, but he's got his perfectly normal one himself. If only his name was written Kinzo, but he let us call him Goldsmith or something. I totally freak out. But as you can probably guess by now, he's a frightening person with an extremely short temper. I'm one of his grandchildren, not a son, and I haven't seen him since elementary school. Thanks to that, I have no memory of being beaten myself, but our parents were apparently raised with an iron fist. That earlier conversation between my dad and Uncle Cross about who should go convince grandfather to calm down seems pretty darn funny once you know their background. You can't really tell grandfather's story without covering that pivotal event back between the Showa era, 1926 to 1989. Until the Meiji 1868, 1920, and Taisho 1912-1926 eras, the Ushiromiya family was great and prosperous. They owned several spinning mills, making them rich enough to just double over laughing every day as the money kept rolling in. Incidentally, grandfather was a member of a branch family and had pretty much nothing to do with the main family. Not only was he way down the list of people who could inherit the headship, but he had hardly any contact with the glamorous man family. However, during the Great Kanto earthquake in the year Taisho 12, 1923, the mansion owned by the Ushiromiya family in Odawara was flattened. The spinning mills in Tokyo were all burned down in a huge fire, and the Ushiromiya family lost most of its wealth and family members in an instant. So once they started trying to figure out who the successor to the Ushiromiya family should be, they apparently found no one remaining except Kinzo and his branch family. In Kinzo's later reminiscences, he referred to this as good fortune, so great that it overturned fate. With that, grandfather's boring, everyday life did it 180. Was interested with reviving the dying Ushiromiya family, which had lost nearly all of its wealth. However, just because he had been interested with this task didn't mean he could just accomplish it. Apparently those around him weren't really expecting much. However, this is when grandfather began displaying his extraordinary talent and good luck. Grandfather used all the family's remaining wealth, as well as everything from the hair on his head to his two noses as collateral in order to borrow a massive amount of money. Grandfather used all of the family's remaining wealth, as well as everything from the hair of his head to his toenails, as collateral in order to borrow a massive amount of money. Once he'd built up a gigantic war chest, he immediately invested in businesses. It was like someone tumbling down a hill on a bike without any brakes, and then jumping into a neighboring bike, and then another one. Just like some crazy street performance. I bet everyone thought grandfather had no business ability whatsoever. However, after several miracles and turns of good luck, with coincidence piling up and every chance taken advantage of, he was suddenly in control of powerful connections with the occupying forces. At that time, MacArthur and the GHQ were the ultimate authority in Japan. Grandfather, in a twinkle of an eye, began succeeding his business under the protection of the occupying forces, quickly becoming very rich. So he was supported by the American occupation force. By this point, it's probably safe to say that information not like saved the day. He must have made some seriously deep connections with the occupying forces. Grandfather knew beforehand about emergency demands that would be made for the Korean War. No, it was more than that. He must have predicted those emergency demands from the very beginning, when he started investing his money. The storybooks make it sound like all of Japan made a large profit of the emergency demands during the Korean War, but that isn't actually true. Only a very limited number of the super rich played the money game and made an easy profit. Most of the citizens remained poor. In other words, grandfather was a member of this extremely lucky group of winners. I am pretty sure this all happened during the year Showa 25, 1950 or so. The Great Kanto earthquake happened in Taisho 13, 1924. So that means grandfather was able to revive the near-dead Ushiromiya family in only about 20 years, to a level even higher than it had ever been before. With that, you'd think he'd revive the main family in Odawara, but for some reason he went and did something as crazy as buying an entire small island in the Izu archipelago. Buying an entire island is not something you can do ordinarily do today. However, grandfather was clever. he contacted the GHQ and applied for the establishment of a marine resource base. He acquired this island as a business property and then tossed that project aside and claimed it as his own plot of land. After the war, there were prevention measures against food shortages, and having the sponsorship of the GHQ meant that nobody could oppose him. From what I've heard, the Tokyo metropolis is of the From what I've heard, the Tokyo metropolis of that day offered this land to him practically for free. Later, Tokyo made difficulties by telling Kinzo to return the land, but the pushy GHQ intervened. Anyway, it seems under-the-table bribes did their work well. In the end, the city gave up in frustration. Grandfather, with considerable skill and good luck, managed to weather the stormy seas of that period, obtaining a vast fortune and his own island. Of course, it probably wasn't all luck. He was obsessed with all things Western, which helped him cultivate his English skills. He was able to use this to his advantage and sink his teeth into the GHQ. A mansion was built on the island soon after. This mansion, in fact, Grandfather, with his love of the Western style, made this once uninhabitable island a canvas upon which he could realize his dreams of his art's content. He now had a Western mansion of his dreams, overflowing with emotions and atmosphere, and a beautiful garden featuring all sorts of roses. And he had a private beach where nobody other than himself would ever be permitted to leave a footprint. This would be a dream come true for any boy. After that, he made good use of his huge fortune, becoming a large stockholder in the extremely stable iron and steel industry, and was able to live an easy and comfortable life using the dividends. Oh, so he has stockholding on iron and steel, flint and steel. Well, he's just that incredible. This kind of person usually has the ability to foresee and predict the future, or at least that it is how they are portrayed after the fact. But Grandfather denies all of that, repeatedly saying he was simply blessed with extraordinary luck. Anyway, even a lord like that can't help but grow increasingly eccentric, and when locked up alone on an island where all his dreams are made real. Everyone knows that he's had a Western obsession from the start, but none of our parents really know when his bizarre black magic hobby began. Did his love of black magic begin way back when he became fascinated with everything Western? Or did his miraculous stretch of good luck while reviving his family cause him to feel a mysterious power on himself? At some point, Grandfather began to make the research of black magic in his life's work. He filled his study up with suspicious books, chemicals, and magical items as he became increasingly bizarre. From what I've heard, those around him warmly watched over him, figuring that someone who had achieved success in life had a right to do as he pleased, but there's no way that's true. They were probably creeped out by thinking that's disgusting, I don't want to get involved. Anyway, the agitated period was an age of big gambles, with both opportunities and risks. Let's say Grandfather was born in this time period. He would have had no opportunities and would probably have advanced like a chess piece from a mandatory education to college at a leisure pace, never becoming more than an average salaryman. See? War gives you opportunity. I love war. If that happened, he'd probably have sat somewhere happily talking about his boss's back. No, not in a fancy dining hall like this, more like at a table in some bar. Then again, I bet this family conference would be a whole lot more relaxing if that were the case. Okay, that's enough about the old geezer. More importantly, let's talk about his incredible lunch.
前菜の刺身のサラダで俺はすでに確信してたね。
I'm already convinced by that sashimi salad
ゴー
appetizer.
ダさんは大したシェフだぜ。
Goda-san's an excellent
し
chef.
かも魚は近海で取れたやつだろ。
Plus, the fish were caught in the adjacent seats, weren't they?
スー
Seats.
パーの刺身とはわけが違ったぜ。
They're totally different from the sashimi you get at the supermarket.
おいおいよせよバトラ
Hey, quit, Butler.
育ちがバレちまうだろうが
Your upbringing will be exposed. Everyone let out a big laugh. Damn it, you say that even though you love those cheap pups.
僕も仕事の都合で珍しいところで食事をすることもあるけど、それらと比べてもこれはかなりのものだよ。
I've eaten at many unusual places because of work, but this stands right up there with the best of them.
ゴーダさんは多分その道じゃ少しは知られた人だったんじゃないかな。
I'd be willing to bet Goda-san used to be pretty well known in those circles.
よくは知らねえんだけどよ。
Well, I don't know the details,
老舗ホテルでのれん分けだか派閥の分裂だかややこしいことがあってよ。
but stuff got complicated at the long-standing hotel he used to work at. What with them opening a new establishment with the same name and breaking infections or whatever it
その
was.
トラブルで辞めざるを得なくなっちまったんだってさ。
In the middle of all that, he was apparently forced to
それで
retire.
その時偶然お袋が使用人の求人を出してたわけなんだよ。
At that time, Mom just happened to be sending out job offers for a servant. As Goda removed the empty plates, he began to recount his own bumpy past without losing his
世の
smile.
中というのは難しいものです。
The world is a difficult place.
しかしそのおかげでこうして今日後ろ宮家で再び料理人として腕を振るう機会を賜ることができました。
However, thanks to the madam, I was given a chance to display my skills as a chef once again, this time for the Ushiromiya family.
大勢の方の笑顔も嬉しいですが、
Although I enjoy experiencing the smiles of a larger number of
お
people,
使いすると決めた限られた方々にだけ喜んでいただくために繊細なお仕事ができるのもとても楽しいことでございます。
I also find it quite entertaining to perform more delicate work that can please the limited number of those who have employed me.
これもすべて機会をくださった奥様のおかげです。
All of this is thanks to the opportunity given to me by the madam. Goda-san respectfully bowed his head towards Aunt Natsuhi.
応募のあった中でゴーダが一番腕が良かったからです。
That's because you were the most talented of the
客
applicants.
観的判断に基づくもので市場はありませんので感謝には及び
The
ません。
decision was purely objective, not based on personal feelings. There is no need to thank me. Then why does Aunt Natsuhi always have to sound so indifferent? If only she spoke with a bit more kindness, she might leave a different impression. Shannon-chan and Kumasawa-san entered from the hallway with a serving cart.
失礼いたします。
Please excuse us.
それでは本日のデザート
Now
に
then,
移らせてい
let
た
us
だきます。
move on to today's dessert. Where's the main course? Koda-san and the others laid the beautifully adorned dessert out in front of us all. I guess it's true when they say you have another stomach for dessert. I thought I had already filled up on delicious food, but as soon as I laid eyes on that dessert, my stomach started yelling more. I don't know much about desserts, but this looked really good. A white pudding-like substance was garnished with 2 shades of red sauce, and elegant rose petals adorned the dish. Normally, during a high-class meal like this, you're supposed to wait for the chef to extol the virtues of this particular meal before eating. However, Maria was completely indifferent to strict rules like that, so she got excited by this beautiful and delicious-looking dessert, jumping into the fray as soon as it was placed before her. Aunt Rosa escorted her, calling it bad manners, but George responded by saying, "No, no, it's okay." Ooh?
こっちの酸っぱい
This part's sour. This part's sour. Well, this one's no good. Ooh. Maria exclaimed as she sampled the two-colored sauce.
なんだと？当たりと外れがあるのかよ。よし、俺も味見をしてやるぜ。
What? Some are good, some are bad? Okay, I'll give it a go. Apparently, one sauce was sweet and the other was sour. Despite it being bad manners, I also stuck my little finger in and licked it. Whoa, one of the sauces was sour enough to make you pucker up. If it were yellow, I'd have suspected lemon, but I wouldn't guess that kind of sourness would be red. I decided to ask Shannon, who was putting away the serving cart behind us.
Shannon ちゃん、この酸っぱいのは何のソースだい？
Shannon-chan, what kind of sauce is this sour stuff? Shannon-chan hesitated. Maybe her job was just to set the table, so she doesn't really know. Still, even considering that, she seems pretty stressed. Maybe I shouldn't have asked. Or did they use some ingredient that we'd better off not knowing about? While Ain Natsuhi made a gesture that seemed to indicate an oncoming headache, Kumasawa-san, who was setting the table at the opposite seat, began to chuckle. What do you think we made it out of? Oh, it'll shock you. I don't have a clue. Wait a sec, Kumasawa-san, that sounds pretty creepy. So, what is it? Don't tell anyone, okay? Listen very carefully. Kumasawa-san leaned across from the other side of the table. I leaned forward myself when she asked. Their interest caught Jessica, George, Aniki, and of course Maria also put their ears closed. What? What? Quickly. Quickly. You see, the sour part is made from... What's a mackerel? Juice squeezed from a mackerel. Mackerel. You see, sour part is made from juice squeezed from mackerel. It's the blood of the fish. Mackerel? That's crazy, Walla thought, horrified. Only Maria accepted, nodding sagely. Mackerels are sour. This is what comes out when you squeeze them. When Maria started clamoring that mackerel were sour, the others were unable to contain their laughter. Only on Rosa, her face red, whispered to Maria that mackerel is sour only when prepared as shimebsaba. I totally remember. Kumasawa-san was always like this, wasn't she? I think I remember her tricking me too in all sorts of ways when I was young. The most little has gotta be that one. Those flimsy black things in Chinese dishes. They're kikurage mushrooms. She told me they were penguin meat. And I went all around school like a smartass telling everyone, didn't I? Kumasawa-bachan, you sure haven't changed. You know Maria's gonna believe it now, right? It's just a joke. Now Goda-san's going to tell us what this sauce really is, won't he? Goda looked a little put off about his masterpiece being left at such a bizarre reason, but after cleaning his throat, he introduced the dessert to us.
それではデザートのご説明をさせていただきます。
Well then, allow me to introduce our dessert.
本日はご来賓の皆様が大層お気に入りでございましたバラの庭園にちなみまして、パンナコッタをローズガーデン風に仕上げてみました。
Well then, allow me to introduce our dessert. After seeing how much you all enjoyed the rose garden earlier today, I finished this panna cotta in a rose garden style. What's a panna cotta? Panna cotta rose garden style. It looks like a flan with some fruit. Yeah, it's like a flan looking thing.
散らしてございますバラの花びらは当家の庭園より先ほど採取してきたものでございます。
The rose petals scattered across were selected just now from that very rose
ソ
garden.
ースはストロベリーとローズヒップの2色の赤をご用意しました。
The sauce is a combination of two reds, strawberry and rose
ス
hips.
トロベリーの甘味とローズヒップの酸味を交互にお楽しみになってください。
Please enjoy this mixture of the strawberry sweetness and the rose hips sourness.
なお花びらは観賞用となっておりますので、避けてからお召し上がりくださいませ。
Furthermore, the rose petals are merely decorative, so please avoid them while you
それ
eat.
ではどうぞお楽しみください。
With that said, please enjoy. Whoa, man, I almost want to applaud before eating. Just like with medicine, reading the detailed description first seems to make it work a whole lot better. As Gora-san elaborated on the details of this dessert, it started to feel even more appetizing. Seriously, should you call him subtle or just talented? This dessert was probably planned from the beginning, but taking the hint when we all stopped in front of the rose garden earlier today. He displayed an incredible and timely awareness by just adding a few rose petals from that garden. This combination of sweet and sour was quite exquisite. If it was just sweet, you just get used to it and bored halfway through. But if you reached the sour sauce at that point, you'd get a really vivid taste. And then once you return to the sweet sauce, all the sourness in your mouth would be replaced with enjoyable sweetness. I am sure everyone else felt the same way. Every time Gora-san passed by one of our seats, someone praised the taste at his presentation.
いかがですか？
How is it, madam?
相変わらず見事です。
Splendid, as
お客
always.
様をおもてなしするに値します
It is worthy of entertaining our guests.
恐れ入ります。
I am most grateful for your words.
ご存知ですか？
Madam, did you know?
ローズヒップには頭痛に効く効果もあるそうですよ。
I heard that rose hip has the ability to cure headaches.
奥様に特にお気に入りいただけるかと思い、特別にご用意させていただきました。
I thought that you in particular would appreciate it, so I had it specially prepared.
そう
Is that so?
ありがと
Thank you.
うほら言ったでしょ夏姫さん
So, didn't I tell you,
ローズヒ
Natsuhine-san?
ップは頭痛に効くって
Rose hip is great for headaches.
みたいね
So it
効く
seems.
といいんだけど
I do hope it actually helps.
ゴーダさん、あんたには惚れるで。
Gora-san, I love you.
なあ、後であんたの待遇を聞かせてや。
Hey, later on, why don't you tell me how they're treating you?
無理ならあんたの欲しい年収、
He sounds like-
立ててくれるだけでもいいやで。
Or if you can, just let me know what sort of salary you'd
あ
like.
んたの腕がこの島だけで独占されとるのは人類の食文化に対する冒涜や。
Having your talent confined to this small island is reckless to humanity's cooking
そ
culture.
の腕、わしの会社で振るってお客の皆さんも喜ばせてみる気はないかのう。
What do you think about working your craft from my company and lining all other customers?
秀吉さん
Ah,
うちのボーダーを
Hideyoshi-san.
引き抜かれるのですか？
Are you trying to steal away our Goda?
これは困った。
Now they won't do it
餃
all.
子の待遇をもっと良くしないと引き抜かれてしまいそうだ。
We'd better start treating Goda better or he'll get snatched up.
そうした方がいいわね。
Giggle really should.
じゃないと引き抜かれて3食が熊沢さんのサバ料理にされちゃうわよ。
I really don't like how she sounds. Someone's gonna grab him. Giggle. Yes, you really should. If you don't, someone's gonna grab him and you'll be stuck with 3 meals of Kumasawa's style of mackerel cooking a day, won't you?
これはこれ
Oh, that's harsh.
すっかり根に持たれてしまいまして。
Seems someone's holding a grudge against me. Everyone let out a huge laugh. According to Jessica, Kumasawa-san's mackerel jokes were a running gag that our parents had long since gotten used to. Kumasawa-san often claimed that mackerel had precious nutritional value, which could slow aging, make people smarter, and more. Supposedly, while it couldn't stop the outward signs of aging, it helped preventing aging on the inside. Since she was still spirited enough to tell this kind of jokes at her age, there must be something to that theory. Oh.
それでは失礼いたします。
In that case, if you'll excuse me.
夕食にはふるって。
In that case, if you'll excuse me, prepare yourself for tonight's
た
dinner.
くさんのサバ料理をお召し上がりいただきますので、どうぞご期待くださいませね。
I'll be cooking plenty of mackerel dishes for you all, so you'd better be looking forward to it.
期待してるよ。
Haha, we sure
今
will.
晩は締めサバでキュッとしゃれ込みたいぜ。
Can't wait to get all puckered up from tonight's shimebasa.
それは素敵ね。ついでに日本酒の美味しいのも出てこないかしら。
That sounds wonderful. I wonder if they'll be serving any good Japanese sake.
ええ、ございますよ。六軒島名物のサバ焼酎なるものがございまして。
Oh, it certainly will. Haven't you heard of Rokkenjima's famous mackerel shochu? Kumasawa-san, together with Shannon-chan, bowed and pushed the serving cart away. It was pretty funny to watch Gora-san, who looked like his show had totally been stolen, explain in serious voice that we would be having calf steak for dinner.
熊沢さん、さっきはありがとうございました。
Kumasawa-san, thanks for doing that back there. As she pushed the serving cart, Shannon bowed her head very deeply.
なんもお礼を言われることなんてありません。
Oh, I haven't done anything that requires thanks. Kumasawa may have played dumb, but she had obviously understood and saved Shannon in the nick of time. Back when Butler had asked about dessert, Shannon had unfortunately hesitated. There may have been several ways to dodge the question, but all of them would have required some quick wits. Shannon, who hesitated when hard-pressed for a response, was always suffering because of this small weakness. If only Shannon had a little of the craftiness needed to cleverly shake off a mistake like Goda, her life would have been a bit easier. The fact that she could perform other tasks flawlessly made this weakness even more unfortunate. However, there were some who understood Shannon's honest nature, her inability to gloss over a mistake and draw attention away from it. That was why Kumasawa had smoothly come to her rescue.
さっき源氏さんが午後のシフトに変更があるとおっしゃってましたよ。
I just heard from Genji-san that there will be a change in afternoon
確
shifts.
かシャノンさんは夕方までお休みがもらえたと思いました。
I believe you were given a break until this evening.
羨ましい。
I am jealous. Huh?
すみません。シフト表を確認していませんでした。
Oh, sorry, I haven't checked the shift chart yet.
そうそう。
Yes.
オーブンでこれからちょっとサバを焼こうと思ってるんですよ。
I was thinking I might start cooking some mackerel in the
で
oven.
きたらお休みの前にちょっと手伝ってくれると嬉しいですね。
If you don't mind, I would be happy if you would help out a bit before your break.
喜んでお手伝いさせていただきます。
Yes, I would be delighted to help. To Shannon, Kumasawa was like a mother among the servants. That's cute. The dining hall needed to be cleaned up, so we were chased out. Instead, it was being served in the parlor. Our family, they'd prepared the black tea that Aunt Rosa had brought for Aunt Natsuhi. Maria said she also wanted to have some black tea, but my old bastard said she couldn't. Maria said she also wanted to have some black tea, but my old bastard said she couldn't and told us children to go play outside.
バトラ君、みんなで表に散歩に行かないかい？
Butterkin, why don't we all go for a walk outside?
バラでも見に行ったらええ。
Go ahead and look at some roses
で
or
も
something,
天気には十分注意するんやで。
but keep a close eye on the
空
weather.
はまだ明るいが、天気予報は降る降ると繰り返しちょる。
The sky is still clear, but the weather report kept talking about rain. Ew. I want to go to the beach. The beach.
あら素敵じゃ
Oh, that sounds
ない？
wonderful.
砂浜で遊ぶなんて普段はなかなかできないものね。
Playing on a sandy beach isn't something you get to do often, is it?
そっか。
Ah, good point.
よし。じゃあみんなで浜辺でも行こう
Okay,
ぜ。
let's all go to the beach then. Hey, let's go.
マリア、服を濡らさないようにするのよ。
Maria, be careful not to get your clothes
靴
wet
もよ。
or your shoes. Ew. Won't get wet.
素直で可愛い。
Giggle, that obedience is so
バトラ
cute.
君、マリアちゃんの面倒ちゃんと見てあげてね。
Motherkin, make sure you keep an eye out for Maria, okay?
おうよ、任せろ。
Sure, leave it to me.
ほう。お前もキリエに頼まれると素直で可愛いじゃねえか。たまには俺の言うことも素直に聞いてみろよ。
Hey, you're pretty obedient and cute yourself listening to Kiryu like that. Why don't you also listen to me obediently for a change?
まっぴらご
Hell no.
みんな。ほらほら。
Let's go, everyone, come on. The children flew out of the parlor. They were replaced by Genji, who pushed a serving cart in and prepared to serve the tea. The parlor was filled with a sublime aroma, which delighted everyone while they waited to sate their thirst.
ルドルフのところは家族仲がいいじゃないか。良いことだ。
Rudolph's family certainly seems close. It's a wonderful thing.
よせよ。兄貴のところには負けるぜ。
Quit it. You're no match for your family, Yannick.
そうよ、ジェシカちゃん。本当に可愛らしく育ったじゃない。
That's true. You've raised Jessica-chan to be so adorable.
これも夏日姉さんの教育の賜物ね。
I imagine that's yet another fruit of your talents and education and training, Natsuhi-san. I really hate her voice.
どうも。
Thank you. Natsuhi answered coldly. The conversation broke up then, and the parlor fell silent. Maybe Hideyoshi couldn't bear the silence because he broke it himself with an exaggerated gesture.
しかし成長は早いもんやで。
Still, they sure grow
いつまで
fast.
も子供だと思っとったが、図体はみるみるでかくなり、いつの間にか大人の仲間入りや。
I thought they'd be kids forever, but they started getting huge all of a sudden, and they're adults like us.
バトラ君なんか見違えたで。
Wallachon looks like a completely different person now.
体は大きくなりましたけど、まだ子供。うちの主人も未だに子供ですから。
His body has grown much bigger, but it's still just a kid. Though you could say the same about my husband.
子供と大人の境ってどこなのかしらね。
I wonder where the border between child and adult is.
私、未だに大人になったって自覚が持てない。
I still don't think as though I've grown up.
情けないじゃないか。一児の母の言うことではない。
Isn't that pitiful? That's not something the mother of a child should say.
そうね。私たちももう子供、大人同士よ。だから感情的にならず、知的な会話をしたいわね。
That's right, we are not children anymore, we're all adults now. So I wish we could talk together on an intellectual level, rather than an emotional one. So, perchance, could fucking kill yourself. When Eva is mauled with sharp sarcasm, everyone seemed to get more tense. It felt as though that pleasant tea aroma had been tossed out of the window.
知的な会話なら昔からいつも心がけているじゃない。お前の嫌味は時に的を外している。昔から変わらない。
I didn't read that one. Since long ago, we've always endeavored to engage in intellectual conversations. It seems your sarcasm occasionally misses its mark. Just as it always has.
昔からいつもですって？
Oh, what is it you've always endeavored to do?
あらあら。
My. I wish I could wrap those words up and send them to this room a few decades ago.
ねえ、ローザ。
Right, Rosa? Rosa gave a vague smile. She knew that whether she agreed or disagreed, she'd earn the displeasure of one of her siblings. It was a bit of worldly wisdom that had been essential for someone growing up as the youngest sibling.
よせよ、姉貴。
Good it, Aniki.
ガキどもがいない間に本題に入ろうじゃねえか。
We better get started on our main topic while the brats aren't
そ
around.
れこそ知的な話。
Let us make that our intellectual discussion. As Rudolph glanced over the faces of all present, some let out a light sigh, and some let out a small look of resignation across their face. They were approaching their unavoidable true agenda.
去年の時点で余命3ヶ月だったんだ。
Last year, his life expectancy was estimated at about 3 months.
ってことは、すでにマイナス9ヶ月ってことじゃねえか。
Which I guess means he's got negative 9 months left
い
now.
つお迎えが慌ててすっ飛んでくるかもわからねえ状態ってことだぜ。
Should we take that to mean it might suddenly happen at any time?
当主様は今でも健在でおられます。このような不穏当な話を日も明るいうちからなさろうとするなど、ルドルフさんの正気を疑わざるを得ません。
The family head is still alive and well. The fact that you'd bring up such an appropriate topic under the light of day makes me doubt your sanity, Rudolph-san.
だがな、夏日さん。こういうしょっぱい話はいざことがあってからじゃ遅いんや。
Still, Natsuhi-san, this is the sort of thing you can't put off until after something
今
happens.
が元気だからこそ余裕あるうちにしとくもんなんやで。
He's still wealthy now, which makes this the perfect time to talk about this, while we've still got time to plan.
これも財産のエチケットみたいなもんや。
It's just a bit of a financial etiquette, you might say.
諸君の関心は親父殿のようじゃないか。南條先生。
It seems father is the focus of everyone's concern.
あな
Dr.
たから
Nanjo,
説明してくださいませんか。
could you hear the details from you?
彼らもそれをお望みらしい。
That appears to be what everyone else is waiting for after all. Cough. Nanjo had been standing by the window and staring out at the rose garden, let a single cough, and then realized that he was being called.
南條先生、お父様の具合はどんな感じなんで
Dr.
すか？
Nanjo, how's father's condition?
まずはじめに私が去年申し上げました余命3ヶ月という言葉が
Well,
一人歩
to
きを
begin,
しているようですのでその訂正からいたしま
dude
す。
talks aloud. Well, to begin, allow me to start with a revision. Since it's meant last year that he had only 3 months left was not borne out.
言われずともわかる。余命というのはあくまでも見込みであって約束ではないとおっしゃられるのよね。
In order to explain, you're saying that measuring remaining life is only prediction, not a promise, right?
さようです。
That is correct.
ですから皆さんからたびたびお尋ねを受けますが いつ亡くなるのかということは決して断言できないことなのです。人の命は体と心に支えられております。
That is correct. Because of that, while I accept everyone's repeated questions, I can by no means confirm when he will pass away. A human's life is supported by their body and mind.
危うくもなりますが、それを補う心の強さがあれば、小康状態を維持することもあるのです。
The body is weak, the situation becomes more dangerous. But if the mind is strong enough to compensate for that weakness, the effects of one's condition can sometimes remain in a subdued state.
体はともかく、お心はまだしっかりしていて、意気健康でいらっしゃれるということですね。
So you're saying that even if his body is weak, his mind is still firm and spirited.
キリエ、すまんがしばらく黙っててくれ。
Kiri, sorry, but please stay quiet for a bit.
ごめんなさい。
I'm sorry.
さようです。
That is correct.
金蔵さんの体はすっかり病魔に蝕まれております。
Kinzo-san's body is being overwhelmed by the demon of ill health.
ましてや、あのような強いお酒をたしなまれ続けては、とてもとても。
This will hold especially true as long as he continues to partake of such strong alcohol.
崖っぷちなのも酒のせい。
So he's in a crisis now because he drinks.
流れてるのも酒のせいか。
And maybe he's lived this long because he drinks.
酒豪の親父らしいね。
There's that for you, the heavy drinker.
それで先生、もちろん見込みで結構なんですけども。
Well then, doctor, I know you can't give anything more than a prediction.
お父様、来年の今日まではさすがにどうかしら。
What do you think about father's chances of living until this day next year?
当主様に対してあまりに無礼な質問です。
It's quite a rude question to ask about the family head. So he jumped on Eva, not even bothering to hide her astonished expression. Eva stared back daringly, but Hideyoshi realized what was going on and tried to smooth things over with a forced smile.
Natsuhi-san,
Natsuhi-san, forgive her. Eva, choose your words a bit more carefully, okay?
ごめんなさい。お父様の容体が気になって仕方なかったもので。
I'm sorry, I was just concerned about father's condition. Sure, clearly. Giggle.
そうですか。
That's so.
それは気づき
I
ません
hadn't
でした。
realized.
南條先生、聞かせてやってください。
Dr. Nanjo, please tell us.
父親の寿命を気遣う娘の麗しい家族愛じゃないですか。
For the sake of the beautiful love of a daughter worried about her father's lifespan. Cross laughed sarcastically, and Eva, smiling sweetly, returned an identical chuckle.
来年までお元気かという質問ですが。
This guy looks like... I just noticed this guy on this drawing looks like a chemistry teacher I used to have. He had the same tired look on his eyes and he was bald. He didn't have a mustache, but like from his nose to upwards, it looks exactly like him, and that's very funny.
医者の私としてはとても難しい。
You ask whether he'll still be healthy next year, but as a doctor, it's very hard to say.
この小康状態がまだしばらくは続くようにも思いますし。
Because while I do think Lul in his condition, because while I do think this Lul in his condition will continue for a while,
何らかの発作が来れば、その時にはどうしようもないかもしれない。
if he suffers from some kind of fit, there may be nothing we can do.
何しろ六軒島は孤島です。
After all, Ukinjima is a solitary island.
すぐに救急車が飛んでこれるわけではありません。
It's not as though an ambulance could quickly jump in to save him.
本来ならば今度のしかるべき大病院に入院していただきたいところなのですが。
Normally, I would want have him placed in a large hospital on the main island, but
親父殿は高尚な研究を中断されたくないと仰せだ。
Father stated that he does not want his noble research interrupted.
去年無理に連れ出そうとしたのがあだになったらしい。
It seems he holds a grudge over the way he tried to force him out last year.
外へ出れば病院に閉じ込められてしまうのではないかとひどくお疑いになられていてな。
Apparently, he strongly suspects that he'll be shut away in some hospital if he goes outside. And that's how things are now.
南條先生の診察は受けておられるの？
Has Dr. Nanjo been examining him?
親父殿は南條先生には心を許しておられる。
Father trusts Dr.
機
Nanjo.
嫌が良ければ診察も受けられるようだがね。
It seems he can be examined when in one of his better moods.
容体を見はするが薬を勧めようとも入院を勧めようとも聞き入れてくれ。
I can't examine his condition, but if I try to recommend medicine or hospitalization, he refuses to listen.
本当に見るだけですがな。
I've really only been able to look.
お医者嫌いの方もおるもんや。
It's true some people hate doctors.
しかし困ったもんだのう。
Still, what a hassle. Nanjo sighed deeply. The purpose of an examination is to determine what medical treatment would be appropriate. Receiving an examination and then not following the advice given makes the whole thing pointless.
つまりおさらいすると
So, just sum it up.
相変わらず余命は3ヶ月
He's still expected to live 3 months.
禁止のままあとどれだけ長らえるか見当もつかねえってことだ
There's no way to guess how long he'll continue to live while still on the verge of death.
ルドルフさん、
Rudolph Sam,
言葉を少し慎まれてはいかがですか？
couldn't you be a little more discreet with your words?
ああすまんね
Sorry.
昔からこういう口の聞き方
I've always talked this way.
勘弁してくれ
Give me a break.
南條先生のご意見は分かりました。
I understand how Dr. Nanjo sees
ク
it.
ラウス兄さんから見てどうなの？
What about you, Krosny-san?
実を言うと南條先生とは異なる意見だね。
To be perfectly honest, I have to disagree with Dr.
と
Nanjo.
ても余命3ヶ月の重病人とは思えないというのが本心だ。
I find it truly difficult to think of Father as a person so sick that he has only 3 months to live.
怒鳴り声は相変わらず健在で、いつぶん殴られるかとヒヤヒヤしっぱなしだよ。
His yell is as healthy as ever, and I still get chills at the thought of his fists raining down on me.
長男にだけ親父の世話を押し付けるのは実にフェアではないね。
Pushing the care of your father solely on the shoulders of the oldest sibling is far from fair.
来世では俺より後に生まれろよ
In the next world, get born after me.
さて話を戻そうぜ
Okay, let's get back on track.
そんなわけで公正中立なお医者の先生の見解じゃいつお隠れになっちまってもおかしくない状態だ
So, in the opinion of our impartial and neutral doctor, it wouldn't be odd for him to go anytime.
兄貴には悪いがここは専門家の意見を採用させてもらうぜ
No offense to you, Aniki, but I'd rather trust the opinion of an expert in his
つ
field.
まりや決して親父の財産を話し合うことは時期尚早ではないってことさ
Which means it's definitely not too early to start talking about Dad's assets.
お父様の個人資産はおそらく数百億にも届くでしょうね
Father's personal funds probably reach as high as several 10 billion yen, right? 10 billion yen. Yen to dollar. Oh, no, it's working again. 10 billion. 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. 1 million. 10 million, 100 million, 1 billion, 10 billion. Dang. Several 10 billion yen. It's not single. This is at least $68 million. Million? Yeah, at least $68 million. He has several tens of billions. So it might be like got 50, which would be around 240 million. He has less than a quarter billion, but it still has around 70 to 50 million dollars. It's a huge amount of. Oh, the scroll wheel. Oh, that's nice. Father's personal funds probably reach as high as several 10 billion yen, right? But it's not as though that's all neatly gathered as ready cash. I really hate how she talks. It's so weird. It's not as simple as simply cutting a birthday cake with a knife. That's an interesting way to put it. That's right. You sometimes get strawberries or chocolates on top of the cake, making it hard to cleanly cut it into equal parts. Given that, don't you think it's important to discuss beforehand how best to stick the knife in? I cannot understand how you all can openly discuss this as though the family head is dead, even though he's still alive. Come on, come now. Don't you see how important this is? After all, when the time comes, the inheritance of his fortune must be carried out immediately, right? Moreover, the glorious Ushiromiya house's wealth is vast. Don't you understand that careful discussion is necessary beforehand? There is a huge difference between this family's resources and your family's wealth. How rude. My birth family has nothing to do with this. Natsuhi responded indignantly, though in a low voice, and the already dark atmosphere grew even more hostile. Give a rest, Eva. Natsuhi-san, forgive us. Pardon her rudeness. Hideyoshi tried to smooth things over by glancing at both with a forced smile, which only resulted in making the relationship between Eva and Natsuhi even more intense. It seems I'll just get in the way if I stay any longer. Please excuse me. Nanjo rose from his seat and exited the parlor. To an outsider, it may have seemed like a normal act of courtesy, but his back was watched by several glances envious of his ability to escape. As you can see, people here don't enjoy this bantering and this tough discussion. I got two brothers who shared not the largest wealth in the world, but some wealth that my father is going to leave us. And even now, I find it very difficult to divide this stuff evenly. Imagine a wealth that is so vast like this. After the doctor had exited, and his footsteps had disappeared into the distance, Cross crossed his legs. In other words, this is what you all would like to say. Father's remaining life is short.
遺産分配について早急かつ具体的な協議に入りたい。
You want to quickly enter into a practical conference concerning the discussion of the inheritance.
何を焦っているのかね。
Why are you so eager, Omanger?
確かにお前たちの言う通り、後宮家の財産を算定し分配するのは簡単なことではないだろう。
Certainly, as you say, estimating and distributing the Ushiromiya family's wealth is no simple task.
なれば、じっくりと算定すべきじゃないのかね。
In that case, shouldn't we make careful and deliberate calculations?
お前たちは今晩のうちにもケーキを切り分けたいと焦っているように見える。
It seems to me that you are all impatient to split up the cake tonight.
そうだろう?
Isn't that true, Rosa?
何を焦ることがあるのか。
What reason is there to be hasty?
焦ってるわけじゃない。でも兄弟の間での取り決めは必要。
We aren't being hasty. However, we need to have an agreement between the siblings.
いつでもいいことだけれども。
It doesn't matter when we do that.
お父様の具合が悪くなっていて。
But if the day father's condition worsens is approaching,
先に話だけしておいても、それは請求とは言わないと思うし。
discussing the matter beforehand hardly seems hastily to me. Rosa shot a glance at Eva and Rudolph. As the youngest sibling in the family, it was hard for her to be cross-examined by the eldest. Oh.
それはお前の本心かね?
Is that your true opinion?
兄弟で一番素直で綺麗な心を持っていたお前がそんなことを言い出すとは。
I didn't expect that the most honest and pure-hearted of the siblings would say something like that.
そこの二人に吹き込まれたんじゃないのかね?
I wonder if those two told you to say it.
よせよ、兄貴。
Quit it, Aniki.
ローザだって兄弟だぜ。
Rose is one of Dad's kids too.
親父の遺産に公平な権利がある。
She's got as much right to his inheritance as the rest of
関
us.
心を持つのは当然じゃねえか。
It's only natural that she'd be
親
interested.
父だっていつかは必ず死ぬし、それは遠い未来の話でもない。
After all, Dad'll eventually die, and that's not something that'll happen in the distant future.
むしろ兄貴が悠長すぎるくらいさ。
On the contrary, Aniki, you're way too
まる
relaxed.
で遺産分配から話をそらしたくて仕方がないように見えるぜ。
It almost seems like you'd like nothing better than to turn the discussion away from the inheritance issue.
それはどういう意味ですか?
What do you mean by that?
主人にやましいところがあるとおっしゃいたいのですか?
Are you trying to accuse my husband of something?
まあ夏日さん
Calm down, Natsuhi-san.
話は聞いておくなあれ
Listen to what he has to say.
兄さん、今は大変強気だそうじゃない？
Nissan, I hear the times have been extremely good lately.
そうよね。去年以降、空前の好景気で円は上がる一方。
I mean, this was during one of Japan's largest economic booms. Nissan, I hear the times have been extremely good lately. Yes, since last year we've been in an unprecedented boom, and the yen keeps on rising.
ドルが100円に至るのだって夢物語じゃなさそうよ。
It seems that it's no longer a dream that the dollar will reach 100 yen.
それに、与党は来年頃に保養地整備法を成立させようっていうじゃない。
Also, the ruling party says that it'll establish health resort maintenance law by the next year.
今や日本中のリゾート開発会社がどれだけ軍資金を集められるかって奔走してるところよ。
At this moment, resort development companies across Japan are running about trying to gather as much funding as they can.
詳しいじゃないか。
You certainly seem to know a lot about it. Why? Does he company manages resorts? Kinzo's first child, the oldest of the 4 siblings, he led the family conference. However, the other siblings think he's trying to get all inheritance for himself, and this further stains the tensions between them. Oh, he's a real estate investor and has put a lot of money into the development of a resort. However, his results have been harshly criticized. Krau's wife. She manages the household of the Ushiromiya head family in place of her husband, who takes little interest in such matters. She was in charge of all preparations and arrangements for this family conference. She possesses a strong sense of responsibility and great deal of pride. However, neither her husband nor his siblings understand her very well, so her position is far from enviable. Oh, this is interesting. She should have lost her place in the Ushiromiya family, since she gets the name from her husband in a traditional way. But she forced him to get her name. She's hostile toward her brother Cross and opposes him whenever she can, from issues dealing with the family fortune to the question of who will lead the family headship. Normally she would have lost her place in the Ushiromiya family register upon her marriage, but she managed to forcibly overcome this by having her husband take her family name. Eva's husband. He took his wife's name upon their marriage and became a member of the Ushiromiya family. He therefore does not possess the spiteful genes passed down through Ushiromiya family members, and his bright smile is very refreshing at the family conferences. He started his business from scratch and now works as the president of a medium-sized restaurant chain. This chain seems to be growing and performing extremely well. Rudolph, along with his sister Eva, he intended to make his voice heard during the family conference to prevent their oldest sibling Kraus from keeping all the father's wealth for himself. His former wife, Asumu, passed away 6 years ago, and he married his current wife, Kiri, shortly after that. She had already worked alongside him for some time before the death of his first wife, at which time she openly took the position of his wife. She has served as Rudolph's right hand in several shady pieces of business, guiding them to success. She is quick thinking and well trusted by her husband. Big position in the family conference. She manages a design competition and yeah. She has no. Okay. Okay, I got it now. I got why they are talking about this. You certainly seem to know a lot about it. Japan is about to experience an unprecedented boom. It will be a repeat of the Korean War demands, the time during which father revived the Ushiromiya family.
高度経済成長を実現して世界で一番豊かな国民となり、我が世の春を謳歌するようになった。
The people of Japan have been working like mad, achieving fast economic growth and becoming the most well-off people in the world, reaching the height of our prosperity.
国民の消費は増大し、それを回収できる施設があぶく銭を手にする時代になったのだよ。
We've reached an era where private spending is vast, which means easy money for institutions that can capitalize on that fact. The three kinds of electrical appliances no longer represents the people's needs. The people need ski resorts, golf courses, public pools, resort hotels and theme parks. Have you gone to Disneyland, which opened just a few years ago? What an excellent theme park. It's a place where even an adult can be a kid and have fun with his family. No longer do we count our sole virtue to be selfless devotion while failing to care for our families. We have become the most prosperous people in the world, and now we can finally enjoy the benefits. Crow-san, your foresight's nothing to sneeze at. When I heard that sort of thing several years ago, I thought it was crazy. But when I heard about the G5 Nations Plaza Accord, what's the G5's Plaza Accord? The Plaza Accord was a joint agreement signed in September of 22nd of September 1985 at the Plaza Hotel, New York City, between France, West Germany, Japan, and the United Kingdom and the United States, to depreciate the US dollar in relation to the French mark, the German Deutschmark, and the Japanese yen, and by intervening in currency markets. The US dollar depreciated significantly from the time of the agreement until it was replaced by the Louvre Accord. Some commentators believe the Plaza Accord contributed to the Japanese asset price bubble in the late 80s. It's quite interesting. I should read about this sometime. When I heard the all changed. The yen shot up, and I'll bet the price of land skyrockets soon too. It won't be long before Japan becomes the economic center of the world. You've got a great sense of the direction the world's moving across on. At least there can be no debate about that. I feel the same as Hideyoshi-san. Anki, you can read into the next decade of history. I'll bet you got that keen sense from that. Knowing this was written in 2001, this is very funny. And it's incredible. However, unlike that, the timing of your predictions has been a bit off sometimes, right?
兄さんは必ず日本が好景気を迎えると信じてあちこちにリゾート計画を起こし、そのほとんどで失敗し続けたわ。
Nissan, you've been starting resort projects everywhere, convinced that Japan will soon be a boom, but almost all of them continue to fail.
兄さんの読み通りの時代は確かに訪れつつあるけど、その時期を読むことには失敗したわね。
While I'm sure that the era you predicted will soon arrive, it seems you misread the timing of that boom.
早すぎたのよ。
You were too early.
そして焦って生産して結局は傷口を広げたわ。
You then panicked and tried to sell everything off, which only opened the wound even further.
本当に嗅覚が当てになって好景気が訪れることを読めていたなら生産するわけない。
If your nose was really so reliable, then there should be no reason for you to sell off your
こ
property.
れって兄さんが自分で自分の才能を信じてない証拠じゃないの？
Is this proof that you mistrust your own ability?
失礼な。主人を侮辱するつもりですか?
How rude! Are you trying to insult my husband? Natsuhi's forehead creased as she rose from the sofa. Eva, paying this no heed, stared at Krause with a confident smile. Krause, who also maintained his confident appearance, told Natsuhi to sit down. Please stop, Natsuhi. Eva's always been capable of talking in the other way. Calm down a little, or your headache will get worse.
兄さんに才能がない証拠は私たちのすぐ近くにもあるわよ。
There's proof of your lack of talent right next to us.
だって兄さん、この島をリゾート化するって張り切ってたじゃない？
After all, Nissan, weren't you all excited about turning this island into a resort?
素敵なリゾートホテルも建てて、庭園もきれいに整備して。
After all, Nissan, weren't you all excited about turning this island into a resort? You built a wonderful resort hotel and beautifully maintained the garden.
私は素人だから分かりかねるけど、相当のお金を使ったんでしょう。
I am just an amateur and I don't pretend to understand, but you must have used a significant amount of money for that, right?
だからなんだというのですか？
And what is that to you?
主人の事業はあなたとは関係ありません。
My husband's business is none of yours.
いや、そいつは違うぜ、夏日さん。
Actually, that's not true, Natsuhi-san.
六軒島は兄貴のものじゃない。
Rokenshima does not belong to Naniki.
親父のものだ。
It belongs to
もちろ
Dad.
ん建てたホテルは兄貴のものだぜ。
Of course, the hotel does belong to Aniki, right?
なんなら、俺たちは今夜の宿
In
泊
fact,
料を払
it'd
って
be
や
more
ってる
than
んです。
willing to pay lodging fees for tonight.
な、ローズ。
What do you think, Rosa?
それはまあ、
Well,
持ち合わせで足りるなら。
if all I have on hand will suffice,
リゾート化できればこの島の資産価値は上がる。
if I can make it into a resort, this island's financial worth will rise.
支出がかさんだことは事実だが、
It's sure,
未来に
it
大
is
きな
true
収
that
穫を期待できる。
expenses have piled up and we can expect a large harvest in the future.
そうなれば、結果的にお前たちにとっても有益なはずじゃないか。
When that happens, all of you stand to profit as well, do you not?
それはわかるわよ。
I understand that.
この島の価値が上がれば、それを遺産分配する時の私たちの取り分も増えるもの。
This guy thinks exactly like a boomer. Investing in property, be extremely stupid about it, and freak out when the price goes down. Big boomer. Even among other boomers, I understand that if the value of this island rises, that will increase our proportions. When we distribute the inheritance,
もちろん、島や屋敷を4分の1ずつ切り取れとは言わないわ。
of course, I won't ask you to divide the island and the mansion into 4 equal
それを
parts.
算定したお金で解決してくれればいいだけの話よ。
We can just resolve the matter with money equal to the value of the property.
そこまで分かっているなら、私の事業に何の不満があるんだ。
If you understand that much, what about my business make you so dissatisfied?
不満じゃねえさ。不安なのさ。
We aren't dissatisfied, we're
第
uneasy.
一兄貴、
In the first place,
あのホ
Aniki,
テル、いつになったら開業するんだ？
when do you plan to open the
こ
hotel?
のままじゃ、俺たちの手垢だらけになっちまうぜ。
Left this way, you won't get anything out of it except our grubby handprints, right?
そうよ。
That's right.
大切な商売道具でしょ。
It's an important tool for your business,
確
right?
かに開業するまでずっと鍵をかけておくわけにもいかないわよね。
Surely you can't keep it locked up until the moment you open it.
少しは使って風通しを良くしないと建物は傷んじゃうもの。
Buildings go bad if you don't use them and air them out every once in a while.
でも私たちが年に一度泊まるだけのゲストハウスって言うんじゃちょっと豪勢すぎやしないかしら。
Even so, it's a bit extravagant for a guest house that we only use once a year.
ねえローザ。
Right, Rosa?
そうね。
That's
あん
right.
なに素敵ならオープンしたらさぞや人気が出るでしょうね。
Considering how wonderful it is, I'm sure it'll be quite popular once you open it.
ああ、あなたが前に言ってたホテルってゲストハウスのことだったのね。
Oh, so the hotel you keep talking about is the guest house.
立派なもんだろ
It's
う。ローザの
splendid.
言う通り、オープンできたら人気が出るだろうよ。
Just as Rosa said, if you were open to it, I'm sure it would become popular. The lodging they had been guided to wasn't originally intended to serve as a guest house. It was originally constructed as a resort hotel. However, even though it was built 2 years previously, there was still absolutely no prospect of it opening.
兄さんのいつもの事業と同じよ。
Nissan is just like all of your enterprises.
着目や企画はご立派。
Your attention and planning are both
そ
fabulous.
していつも途中で立ち行かなくなって何も回収できずに終わる。
Then it always becomes unmaintainable partway through and ends before you have a chance to earn any profit.
この島をただ住むだけにしか使わないのはもったいないって兄貴の着眼は立派さ。
You were brilliant when you saw that using this island only as a place to live was a waste.
そしてリゾート化してマリンスポーツやらフィッシングやらハネムーンやらを誘致して盛り上げようってのはなかなかいい絵だったと思うぜ。
I think it was a pretty cute plan to turn it into a resort that could be used the prospect of marine sports, fishing, honeymoons, and the like to attract customers.
俺だって長男だったならこの島を何かに有効利用できないかと頭をひねったに違いない。
If I were the oldest son, I'm sure I'd have strained my brain looking for a way to make a profit of this island.
でももう出来上がってから2年も経つのよ。
But 2 full years have passed since you finished building, right?
2年経って未だに開業のめどはつかないの？
After 2 years, you still haven't had the opportunity to open it.
任せてる管理会社はどこ？
Where's the managing company you entrusted it to?
失敬な。
Impertinence.
それは主人の手落ちではありません。
This is not my
主
father's
人の仕事を
fault.
受けよう会社間でトラブルが生じているだけで、うちはあくまでも被害者です。
There has just been some trouble with the company that my husband contracted with. No matter how you look at it, we are victims here.
しかしな、
And yet,
クラウス兄さんが任せてる例のと
the
こ
rumors we've heard about this company you hired
あまりええ噂
haven't been good at all.
はっきり言ってあげなさいよ。
Let's be clear about this here.
不払い横領トラブルで計画が空中分解しちゃったって話、私たちの耳に届かないとでも思ってる？
Did you really think we wouldn't hear about how lack of payment, embezzlement, and other issues led to the project disintegrating mid-flight? Embezzlement. Embellishment. Meaning theft or misappropriation of funds placed in one's trust belonging to one's employer.
裏も取れてるんだから。
We even have evidence.
何の裏だか存じませんが、事実無根です。
I don't know what kind of evidence you think you found, but it's all
観
baseless.
光業への新規参入には方々への根回しが必要になります。
As new members in the tourism industry, it is necessary for us to lay the groundwork with various
相
people.
手が信用に足りるかを測ることも大事です。
It is also important to investigate the trustworthiness of our
そ
partners.
れに手間取っているだけに過ぎません。
It's really taking us some time to meet the goal.
ホテルの完成が早すぎて勇み足になったことは認めよう。
I'll admit that in my rashness, the hotel has completed too early.
だが維持費がかかってるわけじゃない。
However, it's not as though we are paying maintenance cost.
やがて大きな意味を持つ布石だ。
It's a foundation that will eventually become immensely significant.
嘘つけよ。
Liar.
生産したくても売れないだけだろ。
I'll bet you want to liquidate it, but you can't.
観光ルートの確立してない何もない離島にやたら豪華なホテルなんて買い手がつくわけもねえさ。
After all, there's no reason for anyone to buy such an extravagant hotel on an isolated, empty island without any established
それ
sightseeing
に
routes.
事業に集めた融資はどうなってんだよ。
And anyway, what about all the loans you made for this project?
維持費はかからんでも回線借金は膨らむ一方や。
Even if you aren't incurring maintenance costs, the borrowed money that you can return just keeps
す
growing.
まんがクラウス兄さん、
Sorry, Krasny-san.
この島の開発計画の話ちょいと調べさせてもろたんや。
But I've investigated the development plan for this island a
正
bit.
直こっちもええ話は聞かへんのや。
To be honest, I haven't heard anything good either.
秀吉さん、
Hideyoshi-san.
確かに今の財政状況だけを見たらそういう印象を持たれるかもしれない。
I can see how you might be left with that impression by looking only at the current financial situation.
これは先行投資なのだよ。
However, this is a forward-looking investment.
その読みを誤り、これまでに多くの負債を生んでしまったことは認めざるを得ない。
I have no choice but to admit that my prediction was mistaken, and that up until now, several liabilities have been created.
だが、ようやく時代が私に追いついた。
However, the times have finally caught up with
これ
me.
までに失った分はすぐに取り戻せる。
I will soon regain everything that I have lost up to this
いや、
point.
それどころか、これまでの投資だってやがては私の元に戻ってくる。
No, actually, all of the investment I have made until now will finally return to my possession.
そう例えるなら、放った稚魚が鮭となり、肥えて帰ってくるようにね。
That's right. Just like throwing away a small fry, which then becomes a salmon, they will come back even bigger than before.
それは認めるで。
I'll accept that.
これからリゾート業界は空前の好景気を迎えるやろ。
The resort business will probably see an unprecedented boom before
これ
long.
までの負債を埋められるほどかはわからんが。
Though I don't know if it'll be enough to cover all your debt.
だがな、クラウス兄さん。
However, Cross
これ
Nissan,
まで散々負け続けた兄さんがどこから軍資金を調達したっていうんや。
after all your failures in the past, who exactly do you expect to provide you with any
それ
funding?
も半端ない軍資金や。
This isn't some small amount we're talking
あれ
about.
だけの穴を埋められる軍資金やで。
You'll need enough funding to fill the massive hole you've dug.
秀吉さんは何をおっしゃいたいのですか？
What are you trying to say, Hideyoshi-san?
ああ、夏樹さん。ほんま怒らんといてえな。
I really like Hideyoshi because even though he's talking business and everything, and like they have an agenda and everything, he's very subtle about it. He's very gentle about it. He's not, look, you're a bitch, kill yourself. No, he's very subtle. He's very reasonable about his critiques, about how he acts. He's not crazy. He's not yelling. He's not making fun of anyone. He's talking business in a very clear, and the delivery is very well made.
わしらも調べたんや。
We looked into this too.
これまで負け戦続きのクラウス兄さんに最近の強気な莫大投資を支えられるほどの融資を誰ができたんか
We
調
checked
べたんや。
We checked to see who might have provided Krosny-san with enough funding to support his recent large-scale projects, despite his string of failures.
結果
And we discovered
いねえんだよ。
that no such beggar exists.
弱り目と逆に張るのがマネールーレットの鉄則だ。
The iron rule of the money roulette is that you bet against the loser. Oh, again, this gambling talk. And we discovered that no such beggar exists. The iron rule of the money roulette is that you bet against the loser.
兄貴はこの界隈じゃちょいと知られた弱り目さ。
Aniki, you are a fairly well-known loser in this field.
確かに時代は好景気を迎えようとしているが、これまでの兄貴の失敗等を天秤にかけて。
It's true that prosperous times are about to come, but when we looked for people who considered that enough to overlook your string of
そ
failures,
の上で融資に値すると思う連中がいるのかって言ったら
and also had enough for the investment,
誰もいなかった。
we found no candidates.
ならね、 そ
So,
のお金をどこから調達したの？
the big question now
ってことになるのよ。
is where you got that money from.
ほう、
Oh,
興味深い話だ。
now isn't this intriguing?
それで
And,
あなた
dear,
このような暴言をいつまで放置されるつもりですか？
how long do you plan to let these ridiculous remarks stand?
座れよ、夏
Sit
木さん
down, Atsuhi-san.
担当直入に言おう。
Let's get to the
兄
point.
貴は親父の個人資産を自分の事業に流用してる。これはほぼ間違いね。
Let's get to the point. Aniki, you've been diverting dad's private funds for your own businesses. There's pretty much no room for doubt.
これが俺たちの誤解だってんなら、どうかぜひそれを解いてもらいたいもんさ。
If you think we've made some kind of mistake, please feel free to explain.
ルドルフ、流用なんてもんじゃないわよ。
Rudolph, don't call it diverting
こ
funds.
れは横領よ。
This is embezzlement, plain
刑
and
事
simple.
告発できる立派な犯罪なんだから。
A huge crime that can be criminally prosecuted.
無礼極まりない。
This sort of rudeness cannot be
仮に
tolerated.
も後宮本家跡継ぎの後宮クラウスに向かって信じられない暴言です。
How can you face the successor of the Ushiromiya head family and level these absurd accusations?
暴言じゃないわよ。図星でしょ。
They aren't absurd, you're right on the mark.
なんとか事業を成功させて、これまでの損失を埋めたいんだけど、その穴は広がっていく一方。
I'm sure he'd like to somehow make his business succeed and recover his losses, but his debt keeps getting bigger.
博打の穴を
I almost said something bad there.
博打で埋めたいだけよ。
He's just trying to cover up the failure of one gamble by making an even bigger one. Let's go gambling! Let's go gambling! I like this guy. He's a boomer, but he gambles.
手をつけるのは道理。
It's only natural that he'd try to grab any source of funding close at hand.
はっきり言うわ。兄さんがしているのは横領よ。
Let me be frank. Nissan, what you're doing is embezzlement.
お父様に対する裏切りよ。
You're betraying father.
しかるべき決着がついた後には司法に委ねることになるでしょうね。
You know that we'll have the court settle this after it's all over, right?
そんな輩に後宮本家跡継ぎを名乗らせるとお思い？
Do you think that kind of person has any right to call themselves the successor of the Ushiromiya head family?
言うにこと書いて。当主様への裏切りとは聞き捨てがたい。
All of you dare to claim that he has betrayed the family head?
この栄光ある後宮家の敷居をまたぐ資格はもはやあなたにはありません。
You no longer have the right to straddle the threshold of the glorious Ushiromiya family.
ここを出て行きなさい。
You displace the house. Now, get out. Natsuhi, who had already reached the limits of her anger, shouted at Eva in rage. She then pointed alternately at Eva in the hallway, demanding that she leave. Eva took out a folding fan and fanned herself with it, glaring maliciously at Natsuhi as though silently daring her to repeat what she said. However, her mouth was still smiling, curved in the shape of a crescent moon. In that unpleasant silence, Rosa gulped.
ねえ、夏日姉さん。
Hey, Natsuhi-san.
誰に向かってそんな口
To
を
whom do you think you're speaking in such a tone?
無礼極まりない主人の妹に対してです。
I am speaking to the exceedingly rude sister of my
こ
husband.
れ以上は私も本家の台所を預かる者として聞き捨てなりません。
As the person in charge of the main family's kitchen, I cannot overlook any more of this.
台所を預かる
In charge of the kitchen, be silent, holy maidservant. Eva folded her fan and with a snap and rose to her feet energetically. Compared to the elegance and playfulness she'd shown until a second ago, she was now unimaginably aggressive.
バカバカしい。お前が下がりなさい。
How foolish! You stand
こ
down
の後宮エヴァに
before Eva of the Ushiromiya family.
当主様の左肩を許されている後宮家序列第3位のこのエヴァに下がれと
You telling me to stand down? Me, Ushiromiya Eva, the third ranked in the Ushiromiya family hierarchy, and the one allowed to sit at the left shoulder of the head.
身の程を知りなさい。
Know your
そして
place.
お前のそのみすぼらしい姿を鏡に映してみる
Then look at your shabby self in the
お前
mirror.
の服のどこに翼が
Where is the symbol of the wing on your
どこ
clothes?
に片翼
Where
の
are
足
you
が許され
permitted
て
to
い
wear
るのか
the one-winged eagle?
貴様など Ushiromiya家の跡継ぎを残すためだけの存在じゃないの。
Aren't you nothing more than a bored womb to house the next successor of the Ushiromiya family?
のほどわきまえるがいい、このゲス女が。
Understand your place, your common housemate. Eva's face twisted hideously as her words gouged into Natsuhi's heart like talons, wretched at it. There were 100 ways Natsuhi wanted to respond. However, her anger and sorrow crushed her throat. No more, and none of those words managed to make it out of her mouth. Her anger had nowhere to go, and became a single hot tear that slowly dripped down. What's wrong? If you have something to say, please do so. Come on. Eva faced her with a provocative gaze. However, Natsuhi could not do nothing but tremble, her clenched fist quivering. Cross quietly broke that powder keg tension. Natsuhi, leave your seat. You should go cool your head. What? Natsuhi, resenting the fact that her husband had not come to her aid, shifted the focus of her attack. Don't you understand what they're saying about you? These people are baselessly calling you a traitor to father. They are making light of the fact that we protect the glory of the Ushiromiya family, even though we are constantly expending every effort to earn that glory from father. They trample all of that underfoot with their hateful rambling. And you don't even try to fight back. Why? Is only standing up for us. I'm only standing up for us because you won't. But you've been putting the entire burden on me for some time now. And now you tell me to go cool my head. It's always me. Even though I've always considered this family's affairs so seriously. Sorry, I forgot to read. She started crying. Natsuhi was ready and able to hide her tears. She flew from the room in that state. After that, all that remained was somewhat embarrassed mood about the parlor. When the sounds of footsteps grew distant and silent returned, Cross shrugged his shoulders slightly. I apologize for my wife. She has always been bad at controlling her emotions. It's even been rough for me. If that's what being managing your household, you must suffer to know when, Nisan. Giggle, giggle. Ma'am? It's nothing. Leave me be. Natsuhi flew into her room and threw herself into her bed, lamenting. Those heart-wrenching sobs reached Kumasawa in the hallway. Poor Madame Natsuhi. There is deep enmity between her and Iwa-sama. Explaining their relationship would be very trying for me as a woman. The Ushiromiya family holds blood in high regard, but if a woman marries and leaves the family, they are normally removed from the family register. Thus, under normal circumstances, Eva-sama should have been removed when she married Hideyoshi-sama. However, there is no one deserving of blame in this matter. The madam certainly bears no
神
guilt.
様の気まぐれとしか言いようがありません。
They're nothing to call it other than a whim of
クラ
God.
ウス様と夏日様にはなかなか子宝が授からなかったのです。
Cross-sama and Natsui-sama were not blessed with children for some
何
time.
しろ男尊女卑の後ろ宮家でございます。
After all, this is the male-dominant Ushiromiya family.
妻は後継ぎを残すための道具。
A wife is merely a tool to create a
そ
heir.
の妻が唯一の役割を果たせないのなら、もはや人間扱いなどされません。
If such a wife cannot fulfill her only duty, she should not even be treated as human beings.
当時の奥様が親方様からどれほど責め苛まれていたか思い出すのも苦しゅうございます。
It pains me to remember how the master tortured Madame during that time.
そんな中、エヴァ様に秀吉様とのご結婚の話が持ち上がりました。
Back then, a wedding between Eva-sama and Hideyoshi-sama was being
エヴァ
discussed.
様は狡猾でした。
Eva-sama was sly.
奥様がいつまでも身ごもられないことにつけ入って親方様に取り入ったのです。
Taking advantage of Madame's inability to become pregnant, she gained the favor of the
入り
master.
婿を取って自分が跡継ぎを産むと吹き込み、ご自分の席を後ろ宮家にとどまらせるよう認めさせたのでございます。
She inspired him to allow her to marry and give birth to a successor herself, making sure to avoid transferring her name out of the Ushiromiya register.
後ろ宮家に嫁ぎ、戸様扱いの奥様と入り婿を取る形で血族として残ったエヴァ様は、後ろ宮家の序列の中では雲泥の差。
There was a vast difference in the Ushiromiya hierarchy between Madame, who married into the Ushiromiya family and was treated like an outsider, and Eva-sama, who was related to the family by blood and whose husband took the Ushiromiya
し
name.
かもエヴァ様は先にそれも男児をご出産されております。
Furthermore, Eva-sama actually gave birth first to a
どれ
boy.
ほど奥様の立場がエヴァ様の前で弱いものであったかお察しいただけますでしょうか。
As for now, much weaker Madame's position than Eva-sama's, well, I believe you could see for
奥様
yourself.
にとってはもし自分がすぐに解任することができれば、エヴァ様の入り婿など親方様に認めさせずに済み、今日のエヴァ様の増長を許さずに済んだだろうという
I'm sure
悔し
Madame...
い気持ちがあるに違いありません。
Woman, you talk too much! I'm sure Madame is tormented by the thought that if only she had gotten pregnant earlier, the master would have accepted Eva-sama's request to keep her last name after marriage. And Eva-sama wouldn't have been permitted to act as arrogantly as she did today.
しかしそれは奥様のせいであろうはずもない。
However, that was not Madame's fault.
すべては気まぐれな神様とジェシカさんをお届けすることが遅れたコウノトリのせいなのでございます。
All of the blame lies with God's witness and the stork that delivered Jessica
だ
late.
からといって奥様にはそうと割り切れるはずもない。
Even so, Madame won't allow herself to say things this way.
ただただ妻としての責務を全うできなかったことに女として悔し涙をこぼすしかできないでしょう。
She probably can't but cry bitter tears as a woman at the inability to carry out the duties expected of a wife.
老いたわしや。
How sad.
私には何もできず、
I cannot do anything
こうし
except
て
watch
物
her,
陰から見
watch
守
her
るこ
from
と
the
しかで
shadows.
きないのです。
Time's going back? What? Oh, makes sense. Because now we're going to see what the kids were doing. But this will come the next time. Because right now I need to go to sleep because it's very late. No. Back, title back, yes. It is quite late. I hope all of you had fun. Quite an interesting piece, very lore heavy and extremely interesting. We get to see the personalities of the family members more, and that's interesting. Also, something that I really love about Rikushi's work is that the characters have a lot of depth. They have a lot of reason to why they act in such a way, you know. Even the title ones, people act entitled in real life for some reason, and he understands that. He understands the reasons people act in such bad ways, you know, and that's something that I really like about him. His quote-unquote enemy characters, the characters who are bitchy and retarded and stupid, aren't so because, yes, they are much more human in their reasons to be so. But okay, hope some 2 days or something we'll be continuing this, looking at what the kids were doing, and I hope all of you have a lovely night, have a lovely time, and God bless all of you, and bye bye, Tanuki. God bless. Have a good one.